Good evening. Am I audible? Am I visible? Yes, very good. So, good evening to all of you. I hope you had a good Diwali. Happy Diwali to all of you. So, next day after Diwali, we'll see some fireworks in multiple wars. Today's agenda is to talk about Bengal. After Bengal, for sure, the Marathas and Mysore, for sure. These three have to be done today for sure. Thereafter, one will be left, which is Sikhs. For Sikhs, I have a maybe over it. It is on your capacity that will you be able to take four wars together. If not, tomorrow we finish the war section and thereafter we'll go into consolidation. The most important thing is tomorrow's class will do previous year questions also, which is 14th 11 2023, and we'll go into a new module which is called consolidation of the Raj, which is very important. We are right now in expansion. On Friday, what we did was basically understand the regional kingdoms, wherein who was there in Bengal, who was there in Hyderabad, who was there in Carnatic, who was there in Awadh, who was there in the Rajputana sector, who was there in the Rohilla sector, and who was there for the Jats. Once we finished that, we moved to the Carnatic wars. And that was one war which we covered very comprehensively, the first, second, and the third Carnatic war. Tomorrow, I will also give you the trick to learn the what we call today as wars. How do you or how are you able to tackle once all wars are done? We'll try to understand how to learn them also. So today's class is the last major heavy class for at least this week. This week, perfect, Puneet, perfect. So this week, this is the last major heavy class. Today again, a lot of things are going to happen around you, quite a lot of things. You just have to make sure that you survive this one. If you can, thereafter it will ease off in the next 2 3, and then the last heart attack is going to come, or the last major heart attack is the whole set of social justice reform plus the peasant and tribal vote. This is the last major thing. This, if we didn't survive as a nation, the Indian subcontinent was gobbled up by the British. And let's see if the British make you give up on something today. If not, then we are all clear. So this is the last major war in that regard. Shweta, you are talking about what? But Shweta, I hope you're sending it to islive@byju's.com for checking the papers and something. No, it's not a marathon. It's just that it's a little bit heavy. That's the only thing. We'll give it a minute and then we'll start. It's the heaviness of the class. It's the heaviness of the class, because here again there are two wars here, three wars here, four wars here, two wars here. This is the problem. My email ID is abhishek.mishra19@byju's.com. I don't know which .com you're sending it, and any question you want to send for checking IAS live@byju's.com. Okay. The French left in 1956 after British, but in one earlier class you told French after the British left India. That is because they were holding on to Pondicherry and the British India gave us transfer of power, not French. French and the Portuguese were left because British transfer of power did not apply to the Portuguese and the French in that regard. Suba means a province. Suba means a province. Province. We can send any answer to your email also. No, Seema. because then I do not have the system to generate a ticket number. So I will never have the understanding of where I am sending what. So you have to send it to IS Live, then it comes to me through a channel. So you can't do it the other way around. I don't know, Vanshika, what you are meaning by that. I've not written it. Oh, this is Bengal. This is the successor states. Successor states, they've just written like that. There aren't factories that go downs. They are go downs, but they can become bigger fortifications also. Ashay, which war is the most important among these? All have their significance. Carnatic War is about Anglo-French. Bengal is about India being looted and the change of Indian fate for the British. Marathas is the major challenge going. Second challenge was the Sikhs, that also went. And sorry, the second challenge was the Mysore, that also went. So all are important. Mehak, which question? I am now going to start. What are factors coordinating? See, factors are agents who are connected to the factories. When we send the queries to, yes, Pavitra, query you send me, I'll answer it. But paper checking has a certain process. How can you remember these for long? Through revision. You can't do that. You send it to target as same thing. You, simple point is, if you think that you will run it once and then remember it forever, that can never happen. You have to go through it. I told you this is the only heavy part. If everybody's here, can we start? Can we start our discussion for today, which is to go to Bengal? So if engulfed India, then how Nizams and the some regional kingdoms went today? That I will discuss, Ankush, when we will discuss post-independence. Okay. So last week was about discussing a very important war, which is called the Carnatic War. And the Carnatic War basically, in a way, sealed the fate of the French. That the French may be in and around India, in the Indian subcontinent, and even in the Indian Ocean. One thing was very, very clear, that we'll do previous year questions and the trick for wars will be tomorrow. The fact is that there was no way the French were going to ever expand in India again. So now Carnatic in a way was happening parallelly, because Carnatic War, the years are very, very close to what was happening in an era of what we call as the period of what was happening in Bengal also. So if you look at the dates, rather not 18, 1746, 48, 1749, 54, 1756, 1763. So if you look at all these dates, these are also the dates which are very close to the story in Bengal. So Carnatic is done. Now I'm going to Bengal. Now when we talk about Bengal, now please, you have to concentrate in class, because from this point forward, if you concentrate, I will only need only 2 revisions, maximum 3, not more than that, because there are multiple things which will happen together and you have to remember it. So one thing is very clear: Austrian War of Secession and 7 Years War, you remember, right? Austrian War of Secession and 7 Years War. Ashik, that which source matters. Some people tell you the wrong story. Okay, yes, you remember Austrian War of Secession and the 7 Years War, the reasons for the first and the third Carnatic War. Now, when we talk about Bengal at this point of time was one of the most prosperous provinces. The most prosperous province in India at this point of time was Bengal, and it is believed that 60% of all East India Company trade used to happen from the Hooghly, from the Bengal sector, from what we call as Fort William. And at this point of time, Bengal in a way stood at a very strong foothold vis-a-vis other things. If we look at the larger picture, which I've tried to create for you in multiple places, you know that Ali Vardi Khan was the one who was in the helms where the British were coming up and misusing, and he will be then succeeded by his grandson Sirajuddaulah in 1756. In 1756. There was no geography lecture in the morning. Mukesh sir isn't well. Thereafter, we also know something, that the British presence had been here since 1651, 1698, and 1717 are very important dates for the British in India and specifically Bengal. Herein you have the Shah Shuja Farman. This is the grant of Calcutta, wherein they get what we call as Fort William. And this is what called the Farooq Siyar Farman. Through this, more or less, at 3,000 rupees, Bengal was sold to the British. And the simple point you again need to understand is that Bengal politics is also different. First things first, English presence, I hope you remember, and you understand the importance of Bengal vis-a-vis trade, because I want to go into the internal politics of Bengal. Are we clear with regards to this? Is something which I have been doing this for the past 3 classes, which is giving you context. Now, this much I expect from you that you will remember, which is that 1651, 1698, 1717, English got inroads into Bengal. And when we talked about Bengal as a successor state, we discussed how from Murshid Quli Khan to Sujauddin to Alivardi Khan and to Sirajuddaulah, there was a transfer of power or transition in power. But there's a peculiarity in Bengal politics which I have to discuss. Now, let's try to understand how Pradeep, I'll answer you later. Concentrate. Links have come. I take weekend batch also. So Saturday there would have been a link for Modern India. That would be sure. Now, when we talk about Bengal, Alivardi Khan and Sirajuddaulah, they have something in common. And what is common to both of them is they want to undercut the power of bankers, merchants, and traders on the Nawabship, which is that they have too much power. Specifically, Alivardi Khan and Sirajuddaulah both headed a person called Jagat Seth. Jagat Seth and Omi Chand, sometimes also called Amir Chand, basically are two very important kingmakers. Think of them like the Sayyid brothers. If you want to come to power, you have to in a way be in the good books of Jagat Seth and Ami Chand. And basically both of them wanted to undercut the power of Jagat Seth and Ami Chand, which was basically making a little bit of internal politics interesting in Bengal generally. Then when it came to Alivardi Khan and his succession or his grandson taking power, which is Sirajuddaulah never came to power with ease, in that sense that because he had an aunt named Ghasiti Begum. Ghasiti Begum. And Ghasiti Begum written like this also sometimes. Ghasiti. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Ghasiti Begum. She was opposing the coming up of Sirajuddaulah. And more or less, she wanted a person called Shaukat Jung to come to power. But that is something in the background. She is opposing him. Now, if you look at it, does the internal politics of Bengal seem like a recipe which the British could use? Does it look like a recipe for disaster in that regard? There are people who don't like the king. There are people who are basically opposing the king itself, and there's a lot of internal politics. Now there's a lot of opportunity here for the British. Now let's go to 1756. Now I'm building up to the concept of Plassey. So please again pay attention. Very critical story. This is how India will be lost forever. Now in 1756, Sirajuddaulah and Alivardi Khan was also clear about that Sirajuddaulah hated the British and their misuse of farmans, and basically there was so much leakage that Sirajuddaulah was cognizant of the fact that the British were actually not very trustworthy in this sector, and therefore Sirajuddaulah always had a certain understanding that they should go back to the privileges which may have been under Murshid Quli Khan, and in Bengal the British were becoming a nuisance. So Sirajuddaulah, as it is, does not have a lot of faith either in the French also. He generally hated the Europeans, and generally he wanted these traders who were basically very close to the British, and that included Jagat Seth and Umi Amir Chand, to not be very influential in politics. So he wants to remove the politicization of trade. That trade has now become a way of politics, and he also hates the British generally. Now comes the fateful year of 1756, and this is Hooghly River for you. This is Hooghly. And in Hooghly, the presence of the British and the French is like that. On both sides of the Hooghly, you have one side French, one side the English. So you had on one side the English Fort William, and on the other side you had the French fort or factory. Now, very simply, this is the English, this is the French, and both of these forts have a little bit of fortification, have a little bit of what we call as military presence also, but these are the two major forts from which they are operating. Now 1756, can anybody tell me what will start in Europe in 1756? What will start in Europe in 1756? Yes, very good. The 7 Years' War. The 7 Years' War, which is linked to the Austrian War of Secession, which is basically the story behind the Third Carnatic War. Here the Third Carnatic War story is coming through. Now, basically in 1756, 7 Years' War starts. We already know the story. We've discussed it on Friday. Now, 7 Years' War, the Carnatic War starts. Third Carnatic War starts in Deep South. So now, if you are sitting in Bengal as an English and a French, would you fear the mushrooming of this in Bengal also? That this may also come to Bengal because we are facing each other on the banks of the Hooghly? It's a proper possibility that the English and the French would fight with each other in Bengal. Now, what these two foolish powers do, and that is basically against the wishes of Sirajuddaulah, this is an area which Sirajuddaulah controls. So any military extension, any military concept needs Sirajuddaullah's permission. And what they do is that, preempting a war in Bengal, the English and the French both start to fortify their settlements. They start to build forts around it, and they start to fortify their settlements. And in this fortification, both are trying to develop a certain understanding wherein they can fight with each other and they can defend each other. Now, this fortification, this this fortification and this fortification, all is happening without the permission of Siraj. And therefore, as soon as Sirajuddaula gets to know that the British and the French are fortifying their own settlements, now Sirajuddaula will say to the English and the French both. He will say to both the English and the French, stop fortification. This is a breach of my sovereignty. You have to stop fortification. Because if you need to fortify, you need to ask me. As it is, I am here for making sure that nothing happens in Bengal. Now, the French agree and stop. On the other hand, the English do not stop fortification and they defy this order and they defy the order. Now, this is a situation in which Sirajuddaula already hated the British, and the British are actively destroying the power or actively defying the power of Sirajuddaula. Fortification means is to build towers, build a lot of walls, and then putting cannons on them. That's called fortification, to make a fort. So the British have refused to accept the orders of Siraj, and now Sirajuddaula has no other option. He will march to Bengal. He was rather march to Calcutta, and he will seize everything which the British have. What Sirajuddaula does is, Sirajuddaula in the period of May, June of 1756, he will march to Calcutta, and he will very simply say to the British, enough is enough. He seizes all the factories and he surrounds Fort William. There's a little bit of skirmish or a little bit of conflict, little bit of exchange of fire between Sirajuddaula and Fort William. But Fort William was never ever ready to fight a person like Sirajuddaula. Now Sirajuddaula is going to now basically take everything, and he will say to the British that whatever boat you can find, now, as of right now, board it. Because either I will take you prisoner or I give you an option to go back to London. Which is, any ship you see, you go back. I will not let you operate in Bengal. You have already misused Bengal's power for multiple years. You have to stop doing this. I seize all your factories, Fort William included, and you should leave right now. I'm giving you an option to leave. But the population is too big for the number of boats which are there for the English to be going on boats. So now, after seizing everything, what happens is that there's still a substantial population of close to 500 to 1,000 Britishers. Now, all these numbers are British given. So we don't know if this is actually true. We have actually no idea of that because there's no internal account of it. This could be a totally manghanant kahani. This could be a totally made up concept. But it is believed that 500 to 1,000 Britishers were left. And now what Sirajuddaula is going to do is that in the Fort William, there was a small tehkana, as we call it, dungeon. There was a small dungeon in the basement of this fort. Small dungeon in the basement of this fort. And the feature of this dungeon is, as with all jails, it had a very small opening for ventilation and only one source of ventilation. Now, it is believed that Sirajuddaula, after being angry against the British seizing everything, he makes these 500 to 1000 Britishers, again, numbers not correct, 500 to 1000 Britishers to be locked in this dungeon. If there are too many people and there's only one source of ventilation, what will happen? What will happen? Too many people, one source of what happened, unfortunately, on multiple railway stations in India today, or yesterday and day before yesterday, yes, suffocation. Suffocation. And it is believed that in the night, close to 200 to 500 such Britishers were pushed into this small area. And in the morning, when they opened up this dungeon so as to basically remove everybody and send them back on new ships, 100 to 300 were dead. Now, this incident is called the Black Hole Incident. The British and books call it tragedy, but for me, things happening to the British are not tragedies but incidents. So this is called the Black Hole Incident, wherein 100 to 300, again we don't know if it is true or not, 100 to 300 Britishers died because of Sirajuddaulla's officers shoving too many people inside a small room, and that in turn meant that they were suffocated to death. And now the British have a pretext. The pretext is a tragedy, according to them, incident which is called the Black Hole Incident, and this will be used very quickly to change the tide and turn the tide. But are we clear till Black Hole Incident? Yes? See, Jagabandhu, I told you, in different books, different numbers is there. You are saying the reported number 146, 123 were died, suffocation. Again, these are all fudged up numbers of the British. In certain British sources, it will say 140. In some will 150. In some it will say 200. We don't even know if this is actually true, and we don't even know if this is actually true. So it is on the author what source he's using. There's no correct number here. We just know that some Britishers died. What number it is, we don't know. So now the point is that Black Hole Incident has happened and some people have died. Now, be it 100, 140, 156, 120, 200. That really doesn't matter now. Because Britishers have died in the way Sirajuddaula tried to be autocratic. Now there will be a major outcry. Now you see, by June of 1756, the Black Hole Incident has happened. With the Black Hole Incident happening, the East India Company will do two things. East India Company will ask the bastard of India, which is Robert Clive, to come to Bengal. He will be rerouted. He was actually going towards the Carnatic sector, but he will be rerouted. There's no evidence of this incident. Yes, except for the British saying there's nothing which is there. Nothing. No indigenous source talks about it. So you can write Black Hole Tragedy. There will, firstly, in the prelims, UPSC is not dumb to ask you how many people died in the Black Hole Incident. You write whatever number you want, but prelims does not ask questions like that. So what is the actual number? God knows. Maybe 3, 4, 5 also. It could be no one also. Maybe the Black Hole Incident never happened. And the British made this up to basically justify what they're going to do thereafter. There's a very good chance for the British doing this. There's a very, very, very good chance that this was just 10, 15 people suffocating and fainting. And how the Americans and the Britishers make it an issue of 10 to 5 people doing something. This could be that also. So they fudged up the numbers and made it very big. It could be anything. We have a lot of coverage in London newspapers about the black hole incident, but even today you can't trust the news channels with the basic concept of numbers. So it could be anything. It could be anything. I cannot trust numbers with you. Throughout your life, you would have inflated numbers and inflated marks. So if you can inflate something like this is a much bigger incident in that regard. So numbers don't say anything. In the prelims examination, you can very simply say British given numbers. British given numbers. Don't say so-called the British made it up. This is your and my understanding. Understand this point. Not everything I discuss with you has to be written in the examination. It is to create a certain image of the British. You are not just here to understand this. I'm trying to tell you India's history. And there are certain gaps which the British have only filled up. So there you need to understand there's a British politics in that regard. So I really don't care. Be it 5, be it 10, be it 100, be it 5,000, by 10,000 people died, doesn't matter. Black hole incident, as soon as you write, you have done your job. Don't start to quote numbers. According to the news channels, black hole incident 150. You're wasting words here. Write the black hole incident and the examiner notes what you're actually saying. What you're actually saying. Now, with the East India Company getting to know that the black hole incident has happened, Robert Clive is rerouted to Bengal. But the second thing which they do is more important, which is that now they use this incident to change the public opinion of the people in England towards the East India Company. And now there's a sense of revenge which develops. And therefore, what they've done is that they have demonized Sirajudollah. They have demonized Siraj. That Siraj is a monster, like how the Britishers and the Europeans get outraged on Palestinian deaths. Same way, they have now demonized the Sirajudollah and the Nawabship itself. So now, in a way, the East India Company has the crown behind it. So by doing this, the crown, the people of England are now behind the East India Company. This is basically their 9/11 moment. Now, anything and everything will be justified. Anything and everything will be justified because of the fact that the black hole incident has happened. Now, what is going to happen is, as soon as the black hole incident happens, one second, now Robert Clive will land in Bengal. And first thing which he does is he challenges Siraj. They want to punish, they have created an image wherein, yes, punishing of Siraj would be a good thing. Now he challenges Siraj with his Royal British Navy and a small contingent of his own. Robert Clive is going to challenge Sirajudollah, and they will fight at Ali Nagar in what is called the Battle of Ali Nagar. And when they will fight at the Battle of Ali Nagar, now Sirajudollah is going to lose. And through that, they will sign what is called the Treaty of Ali Nagar. And the British, what they do through it is, Siraj will return everything and compensate the English for their troubles. So Fort William will be given back. Fortifications will also be allowed. So whatever they wanted, they will get it. So basically, you can see Sirajudollah was not in a position to defeat a full-fledged, properly armed British Navy and Army within India at this point of time. That is shown through the Battle of Ali Nagar itself. So now this is the opening act. Now, please pay attention. It's a very straightforward thing. Fortification, they don't stop. Sirajudollah intervenes. Black hole incident happens. British fight and take everything back. Now, it seems that here the British should stop because they've got everything what they wanted. Yes or no? Whatever they wanted, they've got it back. Everything what they needed to get back with compensation, they've got it back. Prima facie, this has always been the British strategy. If there is a little bit of skirmish, take everything, take the privilege and be silent. But Clive was different. Everybody is following me till this point. No issues? Any issues till this point? No. Now, Clive is a little bit skeptical. Clive is a little bit skeptical. By Treaty of Alinagar, will Sirajudollah sit and say, okay, the British defeated me, now I will not do anything? Has the issue been killed? Treaty means an agreement. Has the issue been killed? Everybody needs to tell me this. Has the issue been killed? That now Sirajudollah will never ever say nothing to the British. No, this is how Clive also thought. Clive knew that Sirajudollah still remains a problem for the British. Because if he's done this right now, he will then become a basically roadblock every time. So Ali Nagar, not Aligarh, Ali Nagar. After the Battle of Ali Nagar. Now, Sirajudollah is his problem. And he needs a solution for Sirajudollah. Clive has no understanding of Bengal. Clive has no understanding of Bengal, but he wants a puppet like Carnatic, like Anwaruddin and his son, later Muhammad Ali. They wanted a puppet. Now, Sirajudollah is a problem, but Clive doesn't know how to sort this out. How to sort this out? Wherein, how should I sort Sirajudollah out? He had no idea. That's a very important thing you need to understand. Wherein he doesn't understand what Sirajudollah wants, or he does not have an answer for Sirajudollah. Now comes the treacherous moment in Indian history, and this is sometimes also called as the Vibhishan moment, wherein if this would not have happened, maybe India would never have gone into colonialism. Now, what will happen is that Robert Clive will now receive a message from two people. Omi and Amir Chand now send a message to Clive. Mohit, you email me, we'll get it sorted if there's an issue. Not the tape, not the place to talk about this. Jagat Seth and Omir and Amir Chand now send a message to Clive saying that we understand your problem. We understand your problem. We also see Sirajudollah as a problem. Because Sirajudollah and his grandfather Anwaruddin are basically not even properly recognized as rulers because of internal politics. And now the Eureka movement of Clive is going to come. Basically, Jagat Seth and Omi Amir Chand will explain very systematically to Clive what is the internal politics of Bengal. Clive would have never understood it. Clive had no source of it. We basically were giving India on a platter via Jagat Seth and Omi and Amir Chand. Alivardi, which is Alivardi Khan and Sirajudollah, both did not like Jagat Seth and Omi Chand. Now, Omi Chand and Amir Chand or Jagat Seth are now basically explaining Clive the whole politics of Bengal. And what they explain to Clive is that there's a person called Mir Jafar. He's the Mir Bakshi. Mir Bakshi basically is the position of commander-in-chief. commander-in-chief, and he says that this commander-in-chief, Mir Bakshi, Mir Jafar has territorial and king-like ambition. So he is ambitious and he wants to be Nawab. Thereafter, they say to the fact that if we can break Mir Jafar and offer him the Nawabship, he may be ready not to fight on the side of Sirajudollah. Then they explain to Clive that there's a person called Ghasiti Begum plus a person called Rai Durlab. She opposes and he is the treasurer of the Bengal Nawabship. And he says that Ghasiti Begum is also ambitious and Rai Durlab would be happy to advance you certain amount of money if you want to fight in Bengal and you don't have money. He further goes on to say that there's also a person called Kadim Khan. He has the second largest contingent in Bengal after Mir Jafar. And basically, he is also not very happy with how Sirajudollah treats him. And now Jagat Seth will basically give the key to India. He says, if we can bring all of these people together, if we can bring all of these people together in one room and negotiate, be it Mir Jafar the Mir Bakshi, be it Omir Amir Chand, be it Kadim Khan, be it Rai Durlab and Ghasiti Begum, and he added one more person, which is Manik Chand. All these people basically together hate Sirajudollah, and they would be happy to help you in this whole battle against the concept. So we had Manik Chand also into this. Manik Chand. Now, one of you, if I remember, was keeping a list of traitors. So add all of these names in the list of traitors because they are the real problem in India. Contingent means a small regiment, tukdi. So very simply, Mir Jafar, Ghasiti Begum, Rai Durlab, Kadim Khan, Manik Chand all hate Sirajudollah, but specifically Mir Jafar is very ambitious. So what they did was, Jagat Seth now, see, and this is something which Clive is smart, but Clive isn't that smart to understand internal politics of Bengal so well. So what they do is, they say, they do one thing, Clive. Go to Mir Jafar and say to Mir Jafar that I will make you Nawab. Help me. Go to Kadim Khan and Manik Chand and say that I will make you the Mir Bakshi, which is the commander-in-chief, to both of them. And to Ghasiti Begum and to Rai Durlab, say that once Mir Jafar comes to power, we will make you Wazir. We will make you Wazir. So basically, Clive is now going to offer all of these people certain things if they help Clive and specifically Jagat Seth. See, they all hate, Wazir is Prime Minister. They all hate Sirajudollah because Sirajudollah had the guts to challenge all of them. Everybody before them, everybody agreed with these people. Ghasiti Begum, as it is ambitious. But the point is, Sirajudollah hated Jagat Seth. And he said that why is that a banker is telling me that I should actually rule in the name of someone else? Understand this point. It's very easy to understand. This is called the fragmented nature of polity. This is called disunity. The British were given an inroad. And Jagat Seth was the one who actually gave up Bengal. And guess what Jagat Seth is looking for in return? Imagine what Jagat Seth is looking for in return. Imagine what Jagat Seth and Amir Chand and Omi Chand are asking for in return of helping Clive. Guess. Very good. Very good. Dastak. These bastards only wanted dastaks. They just wanted the British to extend the privileges which they have to them. And in the name of dastaks, they are now selling off or planning a proper conspiracy. And this is basically called in Indian politics the conspiracy of Plassey. Now, again, I'm repeating the story. Fortifications were happening. He asked him to stop, and they did not stop. Black hole incident happens. Battle of Alinagar happens. Treaty of Alinagar, British gets everything. Clive wants a permanent solution. And the permanent solution can only come if Sirajudollah is removed. But unlike Carnatic politics, the politics of Bengal is more complex. He does not understand what basically the internal politics is. So he's basically taught the politics by the traitors or the treacherous bankers and traders who wanted Sirajudollah out. And in return of certain trade privileges, which were passes or transferable rights, which the British used to give as dastaks, and over and above that, Mir Jafar, Ghasiti Begum, Rayadullah, Kadim Khan, Manik Chand, in their own personal ambition, they were ready to sell off India. Now, if we understand this conspiracy, I want you to understand what is Battle of Plassey, or what basically Plassey entails, and why is it called a not a battle but a conspiracy. Can we now go to Battle of Plassey, 1757? Right. British fortify. Siraj stops black hole incident. British take everything back. Conspiracy. Mir Jafar wants to become Nawab. Ghasiti wants Nawabship, the Wazirship or the Nazim's position. Raidullah wants the Diwan's position. Kadim Khan and Manik Chand want to be Mir Bakshi. Everybody has their own ambition. And now what is going to happen is that there will be an arrangement which will be sorted. There will be an arrangement. And the arrangement is called the Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey, 1757. For the curious ones, what the exact date is, you have 23rd June 1757. On 23rd June 1757, 23rd June 1757. Nobody wants you to know that, but sure. Now, very interesting thing is going to happen. The British will challenge the Nawab Sirajudollah. And on one side, you have Robert Clive. But when we talk about Siraj's army, Siraj himself holds a small contingent. This is Sirajudollah, his own army. And then the biggest contingent is with Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar is the commander-in-chief. So he has the biggest contingent. Thereafter, there's a smaller contingent which Kadim Khan has. And there's one more contingent which Manik Chand has. But there are two more people who are there. Smaller but important. Mohanlal and Madan Singh. You see here. Mir Madan, Mohanlal. So Mir Madan and Mohanlal, this is how the whole army is divided. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 generals. Biggest one being Mir Jafar himself. Kadim Khan, the next biggest. This is the biggest. Then the second biggest is Kadim Khan. Third biggest is Manik Chand. Fourth and fifth is Mir Madan and Mohanlal. Now tell me one thing. If all of them fight, is there any chance that Robert Clive would have won? If all of them fight, is there any chance that Robert Clive would have won? Basically, no chance. But what will happen is that as soon as they will go into battle, in battle, Mir Jafar Manik Chand, and Kadim Khan, they all withdraw and do not fight. And basically, the story of Bengal was already sealed when it comes to Plassey, because the biggest contingents were not fighting. The biggest contingents were not fighting. And very ominously, Mir Jafar's son, Miran, is going to go and stab Sirajuddaulah in the back. And Sirajuddaulah will die in the Battle of Plassey. And now what will start is called the loot of Bengal. But when we talk about Plassey, Plassey is not a battle. It's a conspiracy. Sirajuddaulah was never going to win Plassey because everyone else had already made a deal with the British. And the British had already made sure that there was no chance given to Sirajuddaulah to fight. So in the Battle of Plassey, it will end. Plassey will end with Siraj-ud-Dawla's death. Are we clear till this point? Because I will give you the whole story of Bengal till Battle of Buxar, and then I will tell you it through the PPT itself. I have told you, you have to just survive this class. 2 battles here, 3 battles Marathas, 4 battle Mysore, 2 battle Sikh. If you are able to do that, the first vaccine shot is done. Thereafter, only the next pain comes vis-a-vis social justice reform movement and the other aspects. I promise to you that the pain will end today or after 10 minutes in tomorrow's class. It is not heavy. It is a story which you need to understand, because again, the examiner is not going to ask you to write the story of Plassey. He will ask you to write, he's going to ask you to write the implications of Plassey. That I can only tell you what is Plassey and Buxar once I've completed the story. So please understand the purpose. You can enjoy the story as it is. You would have to read it from a book. I'm telling it to you. I'm making notes for you. Can I now move to the second part of the Bengal story? Every war sector I complete, I give you a 5-minute break. 5 or 10, that I will see. So first things first, fortification, black hole. Thereafter Plassey. Plassey is a conspiracy. One thing is very, very clear. Plassey was a conspiracy. Sirajuddaulah had no chance. Now what starts after this is that Mir Jafar has finally been made the Nawab. He's made the Nawab. And what he does is called the loot of Bengal. Now the company officials will go berserk. What will happen is that Mir Jafar will transfer huge amounts of money to the British. Robert Clive will become the governor of Bengal in a way. But more than that, every company official will be bribed, will get their own amount of money. The Zamindari of 24 Parganas. 24 Parganas is a district in Bengal. Till today it is there. It was much, much, much bigger. Yes, the Plassey plunder as it is called. You want to call it the Plassey plunder, whatever it be. Post-Plassey plunder. The point is that the British will basically strip Bengal of its money. Zamindari of 24 Parganas will be given to the British. Robert Clive, who was basically a beggar, when he came to fight to India, his family used to struggle to eat. He will receive huge amount of money himself. He will thereafter, the British will become the only power in Bengal. The French will be asked to vacate Bengal. Every power which was there other than the British, they were asked, close your factories and leave. This is our area. And huge amounts of money will be transferred from the Nawabship. Raidurlab now started to transfer a lot of money to the British. Just to give you the taste of that amount of money, this 50 lakh rupees 3,000 rupees they used to give. 50 lakh rupees was given by Mir Jafar for helping him becoming Nawab. Basically, this was the payment which Mir Jafar owed to the British to become the Nawab. All other European powers are removed. Robert Clive is confirmed as the governor of Bengal because the court of directors love it. The company becomes now a landowner in Bengal because it becomes a zamindar of 24 Parganas. Murshidabad is now going to have a British person sitting, a British official will sit in the court of Mir Jafar, and all settlements other than the British were removed. This was a lottery which the British got. This was a lottery which the British got. The today's estimate, 50 lakh would be in billions. The point which I'm trying to argue here is very simply, Plassey was a conspiracy which will lead to looting, proper looting of Bengal. So from Chandranagar to everywhere the British French were, every site is abandoned by the European powers because Mir Jafar is nothing but a puppet in the hand of the English. Zamindari means ownership of land. 24 Parganas is a district till today. Robert Clive is a Britisher. Yes, Pavitra. Yes. Now, Plassey has happened. Battle of Plassey. Mir Jafar is the Nawab. They have received multiple things. Zamindari of 24 Parganas. They received 50 lakh rupees. They've also removed all European powers. And that was not enough. Every officer of East India Company got something. This is called the first loot of Bengal. 50 lakh silver coins. Now, if you are Mir Jafar and if you have a conscience, will Mir Jafar realize what the biggest mistake he's done in life? Yes. And that is what Mir Jafar realizes. Mir Jafar between 1757 and 1759 literally sees in front of himself how he has become a puppet and how he has basically allowed the British to loot Bengal. And his conscience will rise in 1759, wherein he will contact another European power. His frustration over British looting will now lead to him contacting the Dutch at Chinsura. And basically, Mir Jafar said to the Dutch that if you defeat the French, if you defeat the English in Bengal, I will give you a bigger factory, but fight for me. And this will lead to what is called as the Battle of Chinsura or Bedara, in which the Dutch, in return of money, will fight the English. The last time the Dutch ever tried to do anything, and the English will win. And if you are the English, would you be happy that your dog has now started to bark on yourself? Would you be happy about that? No, because Mir Jafar had now developed a conscience and he was a problem. So after the Battle of Chinsura, Mir Jafar is removed and Mir Qasim is brought in. Now Mir Qasim, as soon as he comes up, there's this second looting of Bengal, in which now another 27 lakhs is transferred to the English. The English want half of share in lime trade. It's called tuna trade. Basically, they're India ka tuna laga rahe, but they want half of the share in the lime trade, and they further want zamindari in Bengal. And Mir Qasim had no other option but to do it, because he has been now made Nawab. But Qasim, since the beginning itself, started to feel suffocated. Yes, Kanchan, yes. So Mir Qasim has started to feel a little bit suffocated. The Mir Jafar cannot ask the French to do it, because the French have now become too insignificant. The Dutch connection is that the Dutch was still in India, in the Indian subcontinent, and in the Indonesian sector, and they were a good adversary against the English. The point is that Mir Qasim, since the beginning itself, as soon as he started to transfer the money, he started to feel suffocated. And Qasim, since the beginning, wanted to undercut the English presence. Now I'm moving towards Battle of Buxar. Everybody is clear with regards to this story till this point. I will read the whole story out from the PPT. We will revise and we will move forward and understand the implications. But are we clear with regards to the story till this point? Black hole, Battle of Plassey, conspiracy, Mir Jafar comes in. Mir Jafar is frustrated, asks the Dutch to remove. Dutch are not able to remove. Mir Qasim comes through. And Mir Qasim now starts to get frustrated from the get-go itself. The story has not gone too far. It seems like a very long story. It isn't. Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim. Can I discuss now Qasim and the Battle of Buxar? I want everybody's assent. I want everybody's consent. Is this making sense till this point? Are we all on the same page with regards to that? Yes, sir. Okay. Now Qasim, see, no, Lakshay, nobody is going to ask you to write this story. That is the irony of it. If you pay attention, it has been close to 1 hour for me to explain this story to you. And whatever I've said is more than 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 words. If you try to explain the whole story to someone, it will not fit in an answer. And it would, as it is, be a very simple question to ask in the examination. Tell us what happened at Plassey. UPSC will ask you an analytical question than a what we call as factual question. Understand this point. You should understand UPSC. Understanding the UPSC is very important. They will always try to ask you a question which is a little bit more depth based, analytical based in mains examination. It's not your school level, college level question paper. Understand this point. Right? Why they are keeping Indians on the king's place? Why not they are sitting? I'll come to that. Why Clive was not ready to do something? I'll discuss that after Buxar. What is happening in British Parliament? All British parliamentarians are, in a way, the House of Lords and House of Commons MPs were shareholders of the East India Company. That is something called the fiscal bubble, which Clive will create, which I will discuss when we'll talk about the concept of economic policy and dual role, or dual kingship, or dual rule of Bengal, it is called. We'll discuss that. Now, Qasim does three things to undercut the English. First, he shifts capital from Murshidabad to Munger. Then he removes pro-British officers from his court. Mir Qasim is another puppet they found. I don't care who is he related to. Now, third is what was really going to piss off the British quite a lot. It will literally make the British very angry. What is the advantage which the British have over other traders in Bengal? What is the advantage which the British have over other traders in Bengal? It's all logically linked. What is the advantage? The advantage is called the Farrukhsiyar Farman, which is that they can trade for free on basically paying 3,000 duty free. That is duty free trade. So if I'm an Indian trader, I can't compete with the British because the British are trading for free, but everyone else has to pay a tax. So Qasim, what he does is he says, okay, if the root cause of our own merchants dying, and if the strength of the British in India is the fact that there's a Farrukhsiyar Farman, he just says what? That he removes all taxes for everyone. For everyone. Basically, he's made free trade rules for everyone. So what the British advantage was gone. Now no one pays duties. If no one pays duties, now the English and the indigenous merchants, they both are on equal footing. They're on equal footing. Now, basically, this will literally make the British infuriated. They will hate what Qasim has done. And now, what will happen is the British will go after, Qasim, reinstall Mir Jafar. That is the problem. They don't have even men to install. Reinstall Mir Jafar as Nawab. And now Qasim will start to fight the British. Obviously, Qasim cannot fight alone. Qasim first will give resistance himself, and thereafter, if you see, he will then go to Awadh, where he will meet Shuja-ud-Dawla, and then he will go to Delhi and meet with Shah Alam the second. And now these three, Qasim, Shah Alam the second, and Shuja-ud-Dawla, they will fight with the British in what is called as the Battle of Buxar, 1764. And the Battle of Buxar, not as the governor, he is Shuja-ud-Dawla, is the ruler of Awadh. At the Battle of Buxar, Qasim will flee and Shuja-ud-Dawla and Shah Alam too will surrender. And now will come the worst treaty which changed India forever, Treaty of Allahabad. Treaty of Allahabad. Under the Treaty of Allahabad, three things were done. Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, Orissa will be transferred to the British East India Company. Therefore, transforming East India Company from commercial body to territorial power. Shah Alam II will now become a pensioner under the British, and Awadh will lose certain territory to the British. And basically, if you remember, why didn't Mir Jafar betray at Battle of Buxar? Because Mir Jafar is just a puppet. Now, Diwani rights means that you are the head of which department? You are the head of which department? Revenue. And this, the implication of Diwani rights, I will discuss with you in economic policy, which I will discuss with Diwani, then Clive, then Hastings, farming out system, then permanent settlement. That's a separate issue altogether. But you can see two very peculiar things here. The British could have taken Nizamat also, the Nazim's position. They could have taken General Administration Department also. But what the British did was that they said, we don't want the Nazim's position. Give us 27 lakh rupees for recusing it. We don't want it, but paisa de do. Give us something. 27 lakhs is enough for us to not take this position. But ironically, the second and the third point is more important. As one of you pointed out, the British could have become Nawab themselves. The British, if they wanted, Clive, if he wanted, he could have stabbed Shah Alam II and nobody would have said nothing. If they wanted, they could have become the next Mughal emperor also. But Clive believes in the concept of what is called hands-off politics. By what is the main priority of the British in India? What is the main priority of the British in India? Money. So why take firstly the administrative burden of then ruling Bengal? And more than that, if in 1756 or 1765 you kill Shah Alam II and become the emperor, would it not attract too much attention towards Delhi and basically show to the Marathas, to the Mysorean sector, to all the internal rulers that the British are here for more than just commercial interest? They wanted no accountability, but understand this point. British are masking their colonialism. This is what you should not do personally also, which is show all your cards to everyone. Sometimes it is good enough, or it is better to sometimes not take powers, because that may not reveal your true politics. This is the point why Buxar is considered so important. Buxar sealed the fate for India because now the British have a territorial power status in India, but it also allowed the British to mask their colonialism and not allow the Indian rulers to come together against, for example, the British. So it is believed that in the economic implications of the Battle of Buxar, I will discuss with you in the economic policy. But the fact of the matter is, the British don't want to take this tension of day-to-day administration. So that is why it is believed that Plassey was just an opening. Plassey was just an opening. What sealed the fate for India was Buxar. Buxar is much more important because now it is clear that the East India Company would not remain just a commercial power. It would not remain a commercial power. Basically, Buxar has now made two things. It has now become a territorial power. It holds a lot of territory in India, and it has also subordinated the emperor to the English. Buxar dual governance was established. Yes, we will discuss that, but under consolidation of British Raj, not here. Implications of Buxar Economic and administrative, we will discuss separately. I'm just trying to tell you how Plassey is overrated in a way. Every time people quote that the change of India was, or the British most important date is 1757. Yes, it may be. It was just an opening in the door. Buxar is when the door is fully open, and now there's no way British are going back. But I hope you understand why the British did not take administrative powers. As it is, they got a money. They never wanted it, but they got money for it. So basically, it's like a UPSC aspirant going to UPSC and saying, I don't want to become an IS officer, but because I'm not applying, give me 50 lakh rupees. So I'm saving you the salary which you would have given to me. So rather give me that salary and I will not apply in UPSC. This is what basically the British are saying. They said, we could have taken Nizamat control, which they did not want to, but they said, pay us for that and we will not take it. But they never wanted it also. So British right now are in that looting phase. They want to take as much as possible. Clive is very simply a person who does not want to attract too much attention towards the British right now. For see, why am I saying this to you? Internal rulers fighting. Was it something new in India that certain rulers are fighting with each other? There are issues which are happening. No. And this is what the British are using as a way of masking their colonialism. Everybody's thinking, okay, British are fighting, they got something, there's another power, maybe they're doing. Shah Alam is still sitting there, Shah Sujauddin is still there, or rather Sujauddaulah is still there. So very simply, Battle of Buxar was fought against three powers, but all three were useless. And there is no sense of unity in India. So what is happening in Bengal is no one else's problem. Now, if all of this makes sense, I want to read it out from the PPT, consolidate, and then give you a break and move on to Marathas. That is the longest story and the most important story. Can we do that? Because Marathas, there is a backstory, understanding Chhatrapati and Peshwa rule, understanding Balaji Vishwanath, then Balaji Bajirao, then Bajirao, and thereafter also understanding Madara, Raghunath Rao politics, and then going into Anglo-Maratha war. Okay, yes, the buffer state is Awadh. Yes. Okay. Now, I'm just reading the whole story out to you. Obviously, I will not read it like I'm teaching you. I'm just reading it out for revision. This is our third revision which we are doing. Why all three powers are together got defeated? Anup, because all of them are still fighting with sword and bhala and spear. The British would stand there and shoot everyone. So understand this point. We don't have a modern army. Okay. Richest province, 60% of all British trade happens from Bengal. And the Nawab holds very big area, Bihar, Orissa, parts of Jharkhand, parts of Bangladesh, even the whole eastern sector is called Bengal at this point of time. 1651, we know they got access to Hooghly. By 69 and 68, by 1696 and 98, they get Calcutta. And Calcutta gets properly established by bringing three different villages together. Now, we already know that Sirajuddaula did not like the British. So therefore, when Sirajuddaula takes control, the Nawab was very, very conscious of the misuse of the British fiscal powers in India. Suspicious of large profits, he always wanted them to go back to the Murshid Quli Khan levels of trade. Now, both British and French will start improving their fortifications in anticipation of the 7 Years' War spilling over into Bengal. And the Siraj will ask both to stop, but the French will agree, not the English. When the British refused, Nawab will surround with 3,000 men all factories and forts and Kasim Bazar and other areas of Calcutta. And that will in turn lead to the Black Hole tragedy or incident as it is called, wherein on 20th June 1756, after the Fort William surrendered, prisoners were kept in a small dungeon or small room inside Fort William itself, and therein people will die because of suffocation. Now, what will happen is retaliation and the conspiracy. They will use and portray Sirajuddaula as a monster, and they will now create public opinion that the British could do, or the East India Company is in a way, justified in doing something which is based on using force. Therefore, Clive will be rerouted to Bengal. He will fight in Bengal. And in February of 1757, Clive will come with a strong naval force, and the Treaty of Alinagar, English got everything back. They were paid a compensation and granted permission to trade and fortify everything what they got previously. But Robert Clive wanted internal politics and a proper solution for Sirajuddaulah, and that was to go with these people and go for a conspiracy. And therefore, on 23rd June 1757, 30 kilometers away from Murshidabad, it was battle only in name, because the most important decisive battle in Indian history was already decided, because only Mir Madan and Mohanlal will fight, and Miran, the son of Mir Jafar, will kill the Nawab himself, therefore destroying Sirajuddaullah's politics, and Sirajuddaulah was now dead. We tend to not talk about Sirajuddaulah enough. It's actually arguing how important Sirajuddaulah was, and he was the only one standing between the British and the colonization of India, and he will be killed because of his own internal politics in that regard. Now, what will start is the looting of Bengal, and we've already discussed the looting of Bengal, which is post-Plassey Bengal. We already know that French were removed, 50 lakhs was transferred, the zamindari of 24 parganas is given, and the British resident is placed at Murshidabad. Thereafter, now the dastak will be given to anybody and everybody who wants it. Local leaders, as it is, and traders were not able to compete. The company officials will exploit in the name of the Nawab anything and everything in the countryside. And the Nawab was now going bankrupt. That was obviously going to happen. And when that will happen, Mir Jafar will look for a solution. And that solution would be to now go to the Dutch at Chinsura. Chinsura is the place where the Dutch factory was. And they will fight what is called the Battle of Chinsura or Bedara in November of 1759. And Mir Jafar will be removed and Qasim will be involved. Now, when Qasim will come, Qasim will again give a lot of things to the British. He will give Burdwan, Midnapur, and Chittagong. 3 areas more zamindari goes to them. In the lime trade, they want half of the share of Sylhet. Pay off all dues which the company owes across India to via his own salary or via his own what we call as revenue. Pay 5 lakh rupees for financing the war in South, which was happening. And over and above that, he also transferred 23 lakh more to his own account. And Clive was now becoming a literal billionaire at this point of time. But Qasim, since the beginning itself, wanted to undercut the power of the British. He shifted the capital to Munger, removed the bureaucracy which was pro-British, and started to modernize his army. But what will he do is that when he pleaded to the British that your corruption is destroying the economy of Bengal, please don't overuse your power. He will ultimately abolish all the inland duties and bring everybody at the same footing. This will become the pretext for the Battle of Buxar, because now Qasim and British will fight. Mir Jafar will be appointed back. However, Sujauddaulah and Shah Alam II will join Qasim. They will now fight the British under Thomas Munro, a very significant personality related to the Royatwari settlement. And the Battle of Buxar on 22nd October 1764, Qasim will be defeated by the British. Qasim will expound from the battle, and Sujauddaulah and Shah Alam II will surrender to the English army. Now, what is the implication of all of this? Mir Jafar will be brought back. Midnapur, Burdwan, and Chittagong fully transferred. All the successors of the British in this area, basically, all successors of Bengal will pay off the British throughout that period, and no other European power can actually intervene. But what is really the implication is basically called the Treaty of Allahabad. Under the Treaty of Allahabad, Nawab will surrender Allahabad and Kara to Shah Alam II, which is they gave something to Shah Alam II, 50 lakh war indemnity, maintain English forces. Basically, this is called subsidiary lines, which I will discuss with you. And thereafter, reside in Allahabad. But this is the most important. Grant of Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, 53 lakh in return for not using, I was saying 27 lakhs. It's 53 lakhs. 53 lakhs for not taking Nizamat functions. And now basically the Mughal emperor will cede all of what I've marked on this slide to the British. In a way, the revenue collecting right for the most prosperous section of India has been given to the British in that regard. But what is even more significant is, why did he not kill Shah Alam II? Because Clive realized that it was easier to hold on to Delhi than to actually control Delhi. Regarding the political situation, he knew where to stop, and therefore, emperor's what we call as disfavor would have been more problematic for the English, and that would also have exported the English across India. They wanted money, they got a lot of money in that regard. And this is basically Bengal for you. What is the significance of Buxar and in that regard, Palasi? Both Nawabs were defeated as well as the Mughal emperor. The British imperialism now flowered into what we call as colonialism. Sovereignty has been established. Buxar confirmed the verdict of Palasi, and very simply, Buxar was now going to seal the fate of India, and it would go under colonialism for sure for the next 200 years. And we will discuss dual administration when we discuss administration. So, this aspect we'll discuss when we talk on consolidation. This and this is what we have to understand. So, if we understand Bengal, we can move on to Marathas. Bengal, fortification, Black Hole, Plassey, Mir Jafar, Bedara, Mir Qasim removes all the duties, Battle of Buxar, and then Allahabad. Four basic points are there. Are we clear? And Ankush, what the great famine and everything in economic policy. Famines and I will discuss later. He shifted from to Munger so as to remove the English control over Murshidabad, become a little bit more independent. Can I give you a break here? And I come back and discuss the Marathas with you. And Marathas and the Mysore sector is left. Which year was the Battle of Buxar? 1764. 1765, Grant of Diwani. Yes? Okay. Black hole is nothing but Roshan. Some people being put into a dungeon, they suffocate to death, used by the British to kill Sirajuddaula. Public opinion needed to be changed. Okay. Shah Alam as a pensioner, which is the fact that now he lives under the protection of the British. And this is why Akbar II needed Raja Ram Mohan Roy to go to London and plead for his pension. And Bahadur Zafar was also a pensioner of the British in that regard. Okay. Remembering these stories enough, Ambika, that is also not needed. What you actually need to remember is implications. That is more important. Cause significance is what really matters. We've already done Third Carnatic War. We've already done Battle of Vandivash. I don't know, Saloni, where you were last class. So please understand this point. UPSC will ask you implications. So they will be, see, maybe this war is section more prone to, not more to prelims. This is an area out of which more mains question can be asked. Why is that Plassey is more important? Why is that Buxar is more important than Plassey? What was the significance of, see, every war cause and significance is important. The story isn't. And I hope you are understanding this point. These two areas you will concentrate on. Yes? Plassey and Buxar are interconnected. Yes, Plassey, Mir Qasim, Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim, Buxar. That is the way. You don't, Mehtab, you don't need to make notes. I'm making notes for you. Implications mean, Danny, what is called as what happens further. How is it going to change Indian history? So Buxar is implications is the colonialism of India. The concept of British getting so much power. See, understand this point. You still have not understood the implications because I have to teach you that in economic policy. The implications will come to you. You just have to wait, which is impact. I just hope, see the difference between, what is the difference between cause and significance? Why something happened is cause. What will happen after it happened is significance. So please understand this point that, yes, Saloni, that the Third Carnatic and Battle of Vandivash, 5 lakh rupees is given. Yes. See, you need to do this because Marathas is much more complex than Bengal. Are you on board in understanding cause significance matters? The stories don't. Because if they will start to ask stories, you have to write it in 150 or 250 words. You can't do that. So I can challenge you, you try to do it. Go home today in the night, try to write the story which I've told you in 250 words. You will not be able to. Why will British pay for Diwani? However, they did not pay for Diwani. They took Diwani and they did not take Nizamat because they did not want administrative control, and that would have exposed the British as a proper power. They just wanted to say, we are here to collect revenue. That is it. I will give you a question. Let me take a break here because you're already flustered. I'll give you a practice question from this area. I want you to now concentrate towards the Marathas. I'll give you a practice question. That is not a problem. You want a practice question? I'll give you a question. Okay, 1 second. This is not heavy. This is not even. This is just factual. That's the problem. Heaviness is something totally different. The Battle of Plassey was just an opening. The real, or rather, the real consequences were after Battle of Buxar. Explain. 250 words. What is this question asking about? What is this question asking about? Please provide implication also. Ashe, if I'm going to tell you whole of economic history, I have a class for it. The problem is you all don't care about what I'm teaching. Like, आगे बता दो. अरे आगे तो बताऊंगा. First, let me understand what you're understanding. This is the question on consequences and significance. So this is the political significance it's talking about. You will be in a better position to write this answer by the end of this week because I would have added consolidation and economic history. So that's a separate issue altogether. So please understand this point. There is nothing too difficult here. Black Hole, Plassey, Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim, and then the Battle of Buxar. But you need to understand that Plassey was already done, but it did not seal the fate of India. But Buxar did because now they become a Diwani. They control a administrative position in India. And the implications of that I will discuss with you when we will discuss economic policy, because then you would have to understand what is the revenue structure in Bengal itself. Right? Okay. The Battle of Buxar was just an opening. The real consequences were after battle. The Battle of Plassey was just an opening. The real consequences were after Battle of Buxar. Explain. This is basically the question you have to talk about Treaty of Allahabad properly. That's it. Okay. Now we take a break. When we come back, what is the time? It's 6:33. We come back at 6:43. And now I want 110% connection and a very strong concentrated effort here, because Maratha and Mysore are long battles. 3 battle Maratha, 4 battle Mysore. And there's a lot of backstory which you need to understand specifically for Marathas. So please now be refreshed, drink coffee, tea, whatever you want. It is not heavy. You just need a little bit of a breather. I'm giving you that here. 5 minutes I will give you later once there's a transition between Maratha and Mysore. Okay. See you at 6:43. Okay, welcome back. Anglo Maratha. Yes, Ambika. See, prelims questions from this area have not come till this point. I'll show you the questions tomorrow. They're not asking so easy a question. That's the point. This area, 10% of the questions come, and that too, out of that 10%, they're going into advent of Europeans and not into this. You will see in the entirety of modern India, this is a very insignificant part. Cause significance is more because this area you will get more type of mains questions. We've seen one mains question which has come through, but prelims question directly on Plassey has never come, or Buxar has never come. There's too much to ask, and only 5 to 10 questions will be asked in that regard. Okay, now we go to Marathas, and Marathas, there are two phases in their history. The first part is called, you need to learn the locations, obviously. You know to know where Plassey and Buxar, you need to know the names of the battles at least. Now, there are two parts to Maratha history. One is called the initial phase, which is under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And this is basically the history which we will discuss in medieval India, which is the rise of Marathas. It's called the rise of Marathas. And the other one is called the Peshwa rule, which is after 1707 onwards. There's no direct connection, and whatever the connection is, I will tell you. But this area, which is how did the Marathas rose, what is Ashtapradhan, what is Chauth Sardeshmukhi, the two taxes which are taken, what is the power of the Marathas, how is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj the greatest ruler in that regard, what was the strength of these Marathas, all of this will be discussed in medieval India. Sikh and Marathas is the last unit of medieval India. Here, I will concentrate on the Peshwa rule, and whatever is the internal backstory, we will discuss it and basically go into Peshwa politics, because it is there that the British got an inroad into Indian subcontinent via the Peshwa politics and Peshwa succession. Now, very simply, is everybody here ready? Because now I want you to concentrate, because there are multiple things I have to discuss with you. Multiple stories are also there. And as I said, not everything I'm saying is important, but just try to create a picture in your mind. Now, in a Maratha administration, there are two basic positions. One is called Chhatrapati, and the other one is called Peshwa. There are other positions also. For example, for the last slide, I've only told you that the medieval part of Marathas will be done separately. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj will be done in the medieval section when I will do ancient medieval art and culture. Right now, I'm going to concentrate only on the Peshwa period, and for that, I'm trying to bridging the gap so that you understand how you can understand both these aspects. So, in Maratha politics, Anglo means English. In Maratha politics, there are two very important positions. Chhatrapati is the position of the king. Peshwa is basically like the prime minister. He's like the prime minister. Peshwa, Majumdar, Sarnobat, Sabnis, Chitnis, there are multiple different positions, but you just need to know Peshwa. Now, between 1600, you can say 1820, and 1700, and rather not 1700, 1689 or so, and in between this period, the Chhatrapati power was very powerful, and the king was very powerful. So Chhatrapati is basically the title of the king. Started under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, but in between this story, there's a complication which emerges, which basically makes Maratha politics a little bit problematic, which is that Aurangzeb is able to trick and Aurangzeb is able to capture a very important personality, a successor of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj himself, Chhatrapati Shahuji. Shahuji is captured by Aurangzeb, and he is taken as a prisoner in Agra fort. This part of Anglo, what we call as not Maratha versus Mughal politics. I will discuss with you again in medieval. So Shahuji gets in a way captured by Aurangzeb, and in his absence, what happens is that there is a ruler. His name is Shivaji the Second. Chhatrapati is not a surname. Chhatrapati is a title. Like you have King, Sultan, Nawab. Chhatrapati is Chhatrapati, and Peshwa is again a position. President, Prime Minister, Chhatrapati, Peshwa. Now, the one who is left after Shahuji is captured is a person called Shivaji the Second. But the problem is Shivaji the Second is very young in age. He's a minor. So the person who rules in the name of Shivaji the Second is a person called Tarabai. Tarabai is now going to Tarabai Shinde. Yes, Tarabai is the one who's going to rule in the name of Shivaji the Second. Now, in a way, you can see that Maratha politics is in a little bit of a transitionary phase between Shahuji not being there and Tarabai ruling. And Tarabai was not accepted by everybody as the Chhatrapati also, because Chhatrapati is Shivaji the Second, and basically it complicates the internal politics in that regard. However, the real problem emerges when in 1707 Aurangzeb will die. Aurangzeb dies and Shahuji is released. And when Shahuji will be released, we will discuss that aspect, Gaurav, when we'll discuss Maratha politics. I know he did not get caught, but basically he was under Mughal, in a way, you want to call it house arrest, whatever you want to call it. Simple point is, Shahuji will come back to politics. He was the successor of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, a very important personality, a power center. But Mughal politics in turn put him into a certain type of exile in which he is not in the active politics of the Marathas. And Marathas, it will be Tarabai Shinde or Tarabai who will rule in the name of Shivaji the Second and basically stabilize the politics and do Mughal anti-Mughal activities. But for us, that part of the story doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is when Shahuji comes back. Pay attention, and so many names will come that if you don't pay attention, you will find it difficult. So, Tarabai is the mother of Shivaji the Second. Don't ask me who is who is. I'm telling you who they are. Pay attention. Don't be distracted. So Shahuji is going to come back. Tarabai Shinde, the mother of Shivaji II, is ruling in the name of her son. And right now, this will basically complicate Maratha politics. How he got captured, when did he get captured, what is the Maratha Mughal politics is for Mughal India and for medieval India to be discussed. Here, I want to concentrate on the release of Shahuji and him coming back into the picture. Are we clear with regards to that? When you will be done with everything which is ancient medieval art and culture and modern India together, when I will do as it is, I will do ancient medieval art and culture with you after this batch is over. So you will get the whole picture. So don't have to worry before the examination. Now, Aurangzeb dies, Shahuji is released. Now, basically, this will complicate the Maratha politics even more because now there will be a power struggle between these two over the position of Chhatrapati, that who should be the Chhatrapati or who should be recognized as a Chhatrapati. And this is basically a civil war situation within the Maratha politics itself. And Marathas at this point of time were a very powerful state in that regard. But in all of this, the real power actually was held by not either Tarabai or Shahuji, but an officer called Balaji Vishwanath. Balaji Vishwanath now, no, Aditi, no. Balaji Vishwanath now is basically like a kingmaker. If he supports either, he can become the real power center or the new power center of the Maratha politics. And Balaji Vishwanath, a Brahmin, a very good administrator, a very good strategist, very strategically chose Shahuji's side because he knew that he could bring down the Chhatrapati's power and increase the power of himself by basically becoming Peshwa. So in this civil war-like situation, Balaji Vishwanath supports Shahuji and Shahuji comes out victorious. And as soon as he comes out as the victorious one in this internal power struggle of the Marathas, Balaji Vishwanath now becomes the Peshwa. The second time the Maratha politics was refound, or the second founder or the consolidator of Maratha politics is called Balaji Vishwanath. He will now make the position of Peshwa go up and Chhatrapati go down. Basically, Chhatrapati will now just become a symbolic position. Peshwa moving, or Peshwa, this title of Peshwa, which is Prime Minister, he will now become Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath. And now this is called the Peshwa phase of Maratha politics, wherein the Marathas will now go into Peshwa rule. So this is called the second coming of the Marathas. The first coming is basically going to be under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj himself, who will find the, or will be the founder of Maratha politics and Maratha power. But in between all of this civil war situation, there was a need to reconsolidate power. And though Shahuji wins, he is not made the de facto power. He's just made a symbolic power. And now Balaji Vishwanath, why he supported Shahuji, he has now basically understood that in this all Chhatrapati politics, the Maratha Empire will be destroyed. So he is now going to take everything under his ranks. Think of it like the president and the prime minister. The real power is with the prime minister, and the namesake it is with the Peshwa. Peshwa was with the Chhatrapati. The Peshwa position is a title. It's a post. It's a post. There are multiple posts in the Ashtapradhan. 8 different positions were there. Majumdar, Chitnis, Sabnis, Sarnobat, and Peshwa. Peshwa is very, very important. Peshwa is the position which is important. Aditi, don't worry about that. There's a lot of confusion over that also. But for the purpose, what we study is this perspective. You are right in saying that there is also a lot of debate about that. Chhatrapati is president and Peshwa is prime minister. And Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath has now captured power. Somehow you are working with a lag of 10 minutes. I have discussed the difference between Peshwa and Chhatrapati 10 minutes ago. And you're asking me that right now. Are we clear with regards to Balaji Vishwanath using his power to coming, or basically making Shahuji as the ruler, and now starting the second coming of the Marathas? Because that is what really matters to me. For the purpose of the examination, nobody is asking you this politics. All of this is backstory. All of it. From the point it will become important for modern India, I will tell you, which is first Anglo-Maratha war. But for that, I have to reach there. Shahuji is released. Shahuji versus Tarabai. Tarabai loses. Shahuji wins. Balaji Vishwanath is the reason. Are we clear? Sheikh. Okay. Now, see. Repeat it also. Shahuji, the grandson of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, had been a prisoner of Aurangzeb since 1689. This line is exactly out of a standard book which is called Shekhar Bandyopadhyay. Don't have to worry about that. And he was released in 1707. Civil war broke between Shahuji from Satara and Tarabai, basically fighting from Kolhapur, who carried out anti-Mughal activities in the name of her son Shivaji II after the death of her husband Raja Ram. Thereafter, this conflict will become important, and now the fate of Maratha politics will be between who will win. And Balaji Vishwanath is going to make Shahuji win by 1713. And Bajirao, and basically Balaji Vishwanath and his son are considered the greatest two rulers after Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj himself. Now, who is this Balaji Vishwanath? Balaji Vishwanath, as I told you, is a Brahmin, and he was a very important revenue officer under Tarabai. But he knew that he could be bigger. So after Shahuji comes back, he helps him come back to power. And then first he becomes Senakarta, which is the organizer of army. And by 1713, is able to make Shahuji the Chhatrapati. But that will strengthen his position because he will become Peshwa. And then this is called the second coming of the Maratha state. Are we clear with regards to who is Balaji Vishwanath? How does he come to power? I don't care about the Tarabai and the Shahuji politics. I care about you understanding Balaji Vishwanath does not come from anywhere randomly, does not fall from the sky. He is part of the politics itself. Now, pay attention. So, Balaji Vishwanath. Now, pay attention. This is Peshwa rule. Balaji Vishwanathan. He is now the consolidator and second founder of Maratha politics. And as soon as he comes to power, he starts to expand the Maratha Empire. And his power was so much that he was able to reach Delhi. And he was able to make the Mughals now give the Marathas the right to collect taxes based on their power. Collect taxes in the Deccan sector. What is called Chauth and Sar Deshmukh, we will discuss it separately. Two very important taxes. He gets recognition from the Mughals itself that nobody can touch the revenue of the Deccan sector other than the Marathas. And now you see the Marathas have the power to even go and sit in front of the Mughals and tell them that we will take your revenue, you can't do anything. So Balaji Vishwanath has now basically revived the Maratha politics so much, and Mughals have gone into such a what we call as declining phase of weak successors that they had no idea what was basically happening. And the Marathas were becoming powerful and stronger and stronger. Now the most interesting things happen. He will be succeeded by one of the greatest Maratha rulers, and till today considered one of the most undefeated ruler of the Marathas, which is Bajirao the First. You would have seen the movie Bajirao Mastani. Mastani part is a little bit problematic and made up, but the power portrayal of Bajirao is actually true, which is the level of power which he held and the level of fear which he instilled in the heart of the Mughals and generally across India. Now, Bajirao the First will do two things. He will expand the empire, and at a scale which was unprecedented. He will even go and take the northern parts of India via defeating the Mughals in that sector. But he will also introduce a very important concept which will become problematic later. See, Bajirao and Balaji Vishwanath are operating from Pune, which is they are now basically called the Peshwa family. But there are also other military families within the Marathas. So while Balaji Bajirao and the Balaji Vishwanath and Bajirao the First are the Pune sector, which is the Peshwas, there are also other important rulers, for example, or other important military chiefs such as the Holkars, the Bhosles, the Gaikawads, and the Sindhyas. And basically, previously what used to happen was they used to fight with each other. So rather, Bajirao the First says that let's go into what we call as the confederacy system, in which we will not touch each other and rule autonomously, wherein from Pune the Peshwas will rule, Nagpur the Bhosles will rule, from Gwalior Shindes will rule, or Sindhyas will rule rather, from Indore Holkars will rule, and from Baroda Gaikwads are going to rule. This is called the Maratha chief politics or the confederation model, wherein 5 very important families used to rule the Marathas, and rather than fighting with each other, in the process of telling you the story, you will learn it automatically. Don't worry. The point is, in the process of fighting with each other, they were weakening the Maratha politics. So Bajirao the first, he straightforward says to everyone, let us not divide our power. Let us basically divide the whole of Maratha politics into each other. We will have the Holkars, we will have the Gaikwads, we will have the Bhosles, we will have from the Peshwas, and we will have the Sindhyas. So in the short run, this works. But in the long run, why is there a problem in the system? The strength of the Maratha Empire is also its weakness. What is the problem which can emerge later? Very good. Which is, once any of them becomes either too powerful or weak, it can fragment the Maratha politics. And remember this point when I will discuss the second Anglo-Maratha war with you, wherein something very interesting is going to happen. So Balaji Vishwanath is the one who has now started to, in a way, take the Mughals also under his protection. Bajirao the First has expanded the empire so much that the whole of the heart of India is under the Maratha rule. But he has now divided that area into the families. But the problem in Maratha politics will start to emerge under his successor. And it's very easy to understand. They pick up Balaji and pick up Baji, and you will get the third ruler, which is Balaji Baji Rao. Balaji Baji Rao is the successor of Nana Sahib, is the successor of Bajirao the First. And Balaji Baji Rao, the first challenge which he sees is that Shahu Ji dies. So he needs to appoint a puppet Chhatrapati so that he can control the Chhatrapati's position still. And what he does is he appoints a person called Ram Raja, and he will become the new Chhatrapati. And he was again a very weak ruler. And Ram Raja is now basically under the control of Balaji Bajirao. But Balaji Bajirao will do a mistake which I want to discuss with you. But before I do that, we all are clear with regards to the politics. I will give you one slide, all the names, significance. Don't worry about that. Are we all on the same page? Because he will do of something which is going to be very detrimental to Maratha politics. Yes? Okay. Now, what he will do is that in 1752, he will sign an agreement with the Mughals. No, Nancy, he did not have a successor. As it is, it did not matter. Ram Raja was appointed because he needed to be a puppet in the hands of Balaji Bajirao. Now, in 1752, there's an agreement between the Mughals and the Marathas. And this agreement is going to turn out to be problematic by 1761. Under this, Marathas can collect taxes from northwestern sector, which is this whole Rajasthan, Pakistan, Afghanistan sector. In return, the Marathas have to protect the Mughals from internal and external threat. So basically, the Mughals, in a way, have become a protected entity under the Marathas. They said, okay, you take whatever tax you want to take from this sector. I'll show it on your map. You can take whatever you want to take from this area. But Now the Maratha Confederacy, which is basically so big in its size, they say that you can collect taxes from here, but if there is any threat coming from this side, or there's an internal threat to Delhi, you will protect us. You will protect us. So basically, in a way, the Marathas have become so powerful that the Mughals have gone under Maratha protection. And this will be the pretext. If you have ever thought about it, and if you've ever gone through school education, you would have known about something called the Third Battle of Panipat. The Third Battle of Panipat is between Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Marathas. But I think you would have never thought it, that how would the Marathas get involved in something which used to threaten the Mughals in Delhi? And that is this connection. That what is going to happen is that in 1761, when Abdali is going to come, when Ahmad Shah Abdali will invade, now Balaji Bajirao has no other option but to protect the Indian subcontinent, because they are controlling the northwestern sector. So in this war, it will be Marathas versus Ahmad Shah Abdali. And in this battle, Bajirao the second, Balaji Bajirao is already very, very old. So Balaji Bajirao sends his son Vishwas Rao and a very important officer of the Maratha Empire, Sada Shiva Bhau, or Sadashiva Rao Bhau as he was called. Sadashiva Rao Bhau and Vishwas Rao are the two very important. Vishwas Rao is still a child, but he's considered very good as an administrator. And Sadashiva Rao Bhau is the one who's considered a real one who's going to now lead the Maratha army. However, in the Third Battle of Panipat, Ahmad Shah Abdali was too powerful for the Marathas. 28,000 Maratha soldiers will perish. Vishwas Rao will die. And even Sadashiva Rao Bhau is also going to die. And as soon as Balaji Bajirao is going to get to know that his very young son has died, he will also die. In the shock of knowing that his son had died, and his most important, the next two successors have died straightforward, which is Vishwas Rao and and Sadashiva Rao Bhau. So very simply, we started with Balaji Vishwanath, then we went to Baji Rao the first, then we went into Balaji Baji Rao, and now very simply the question is, who will succeed Balaji Bajirao? Because under him you have confederacy, under him you have consolidation, under him you have Third Battle of Panipat. And in the Third Battle of Panipat, which is under the 1752 agreement, happened in 1761, he has lost Vishwas Rao and Sada Shiva Rao Bhau. Are we clear of the story till this point? Again, telling you one thing, all of this is backstory. Nothing really I have taught can be asked in the examination properly, because this is all backstory to discuss a very important moment. Now, from this point forward, Maratha politics will become problematic, because now, who will succeed? That is the question. Now, if you realize one thing, every time there has been an issue of succession, somehow the British come into the picture. Basically, the British wait on the sidelines and enjoy Indian politics. And wherever they see that there can be an intervention, they will intervene. Now what will happen is that Madhav Rao will be made the next ruler. However, Madhav Rao is a child. So he will have a what is called as a regent. Regent is when you have a person who takes care of you or takes care. For example, Tarabai was the regent of Shivaji II. Behram Khan was the regent of Akbar. So now the regent is going to be a very problematic personality in Maratha politics. Raghunath Rao. Raghunath Rao. He is basically the uncle of Madhav Rao. Madhav Rao. So because Madhav Rao is a child, Raghunath Rao will initially rule in his name vis-a-vis Madhav Rao being a child. However, Raghunath Rao was very ambitious. And when Madhav Rao, when he became a teenager, he could see the ambition of Raghunath Rao. So there's a small internal conflict which develops, but Madhav Rao is able to prevail. So he will not become the next ruler right now. He will basically the Maratha politics will go under Madhav Rao. But when Madhav Rao will die, now comes Narayan Rao, and now comes the problem. Narayan Rao will be killed by no one else but Raghunath Rao, and he will basically say that I should be the ruler, and he will kill Narayan Rao and become the next Peshwa. Raghunath Rao will become the next Peshwa. But has Raghunath Rao legitimately come up as the next Peshwa? Has he done it through the right means? Has he done it through the right means? Narayan Rao is one of the sons of Madhav Rao. He has not. He has not. So now there will rise a very important personality. His name, Nana Fadnavis. He's an officer within the whole ranks of the Maratha Empire, and he will say that Raghunath Rao has not has rather not taken power in the right means. And he will say that it should be the youngest son of Madhav Rao, named Madhav Rao II, after Narayan Rao, who should come to power. And in what we call today as the Bhai conspiracy, Nana Fadnavis will now plan to remove Raghunath Rao because he believed that Raghunath Rao is not the legitimate ruler. And now what will happen is the Bhai conspiracy, where Nana Fadnavis and other very important personalities will come together, and they will remove Raghunath Rao and install Madhav Rao. Now guess who did Raghunath Rao go against this injustice? According to him, guess where Raghunath Rao will go after he's removed? Yes, he will meet the British at Surat, and he will sign the Treaty of Surat. And now under the Treaty of Surat, British and Raghunath Rao will challenge Nana Fadnavis for power. Now do you see how the British got internal politics access? Again, we literally have been giving the British access to India on a platter. Here the problem is Raghunath Rao. There was no connection between Nana Fadnavis or the internal politics of the Marathas with the British, but the inroad into Maratha politics was given by Raghunath Rao. And this is how the Marathas got involved with the British, and how the British will now systematically destroy the Marathas. So very simply, before I go into the Anglo-Maratha War, which is actually from the point you need to understand, because I could not have said Raghunath Rao was fighting Nana Fadnavis, it would have not made sense to you. I hope you understand what I've been trying to do for the past half an hour. I've been trying to create these actors for you so that you understand who they are. I want to consolidate that part of the story. But another aspect is you don't have to learn it. You just need to know it. So very simply, if somebody asks you what is the sequence of Maratha rulers in India or the Peshwas in India, it will be Balaji, Vishwanath, then it will be Baji Rao the first, then it will be Balaji Baji Rao, then it will be Madhav Rao, then it should have been Narayan Rao. But Narayan Rao is killed and it becomes Raghunath Rao. And Raghunath Rao. And Raghunath Rao is removed, and then Madhav Rao the second comes to power. Raghunath Rao is removed by a person called Nana Fadnavis, and Nana Fadnavis is therefore going to be the one who will restore Madhav Rao the second, but Raghunath Rao will go to the British for help. And that will become the context for the first Anglo-Maratha war. What happened to Madhav Rao? He died standard death. Narayan Rao, son of Madhav Rao. Both are sons of Madhav Rao. He is still a proper, he was a minor. That is the problem why Nana Fadne was needed because Madhav Rao the second was a minor. Are we clear with regards to this story? It's a proper chess game. It's a proper merry-go-round. There's a proper politics which is going on. I now want to discuss the first Anglo-Maratha war. Because only the first Anglo-Maratha war is problematic. After that, second and third is very easy to understand. There was no one else who could have challenged the Marathas, challenged the British other than the Marathas. And basically, Raghunath Rao took the Maratha politics. He basically decorated the whole plate, kept the Marathas into it, and then gave it to the British. That is what he is going to do. And something else is also going to happen later. You will see. Nana Fadnavis is called, and other officers, they're called the Bharbhai conspiracy. Bharbhai was the agreement in which they went into. Narayan Rao, see, Prachi, I've already asked you, don't go into their internal politics. Who is the son and father, mother? Just remember their names. If you will start to go into the brother and the son and the mother and this, it will become difficult to understand. Very simply, Raghunath Rao was the uncle of Narayan Rao. He was ruling in the name of Madhav Rao, but he was ambitious. It's all uncle and nephew politics. Madhav Rao removes Raghunath Rao. He takes it on his ego. He will kill the next successor and then basically become Peshwa himself. I just want you to know, when I say Raghunath Rao, do you understand it? Again, a lot of you are asking me what type of questions can be asked. Nothing from this area. But don't be a utilitarian. You can't understand British in expansion without understanding the stories. Forget the questions for once. Forget it. I will tell you what type of questions come. This type of question has not come. Just try to understand the story. Can I go to Anglo-Maratha wars? Okay. Still alive? Don't have to learn this. Only need to know it. Okay. Now let's discuss the first Anglo-Maratha war. Please pay attention here. This is the only complicated war out of the Marathas. It's actually very easy. After Madhav Rao, I'll tell you Achal, that is linked to second Anglo-Maratha war. Don't worry. Again, a lot of you want me to go forward. When I'll move forward, then you will ask me what is Narayan Rao. So where I am, stay with me. I will teach you everything. I will ask you in the last class, have I taught you everything or not? So don't worry about that. I'm not leaving anything. And as it is, if I'm omitting something, it is not important for the examination or it's too complicated for you to understand, as it will mess it up. That is why you can see I'm not talking about father, mother, brother. I'm just keeping it simple. Now, under the Treaty of Surat, Raghunath Rao and the English will fight with Nana Fadnavis, basically in the name of Madhav Rao II, and basically representing the Marathas. Now, in the first battle, what happens is that Nana Fadnavis is able to defeat the English and Raghunath Rao. So he defeats them. Marathas were too powerful. Out of it comes what is called the Treaty of Purandar. Under the Treaty of Purandar, very simply, This is the first warning which Nana Fadnavis gives to the English. Under Treaty of Purandar, the English are asked to abandon Raghunath Rao, which they very happily do. So you see, Raghunath Rao gets involved. The British use him to get into politics, and once the Nana Fadnavis says, forget that, he forget it. They said, no, we don't associate with Raghunath Rao. And both of them basically go into an agreement. We will not show aggression. Treaty is an agreement. We will not show aggression. Treaty is an agreement. So it's a non-shown aggression. We will not show aggression. So the English now are actually scared of Nana Fadnavis. But thereafter, Nana Fadnavis will allocate certain ports to the French. And now the English will say, this is not done. You didn't give us anything. You should not have given it to the French. And now the English were again looking for a battle. And the English over this are again going to fight the Marathas under Nana Fadnavis. Nana Fadnavis has already given them the first warning. And here again, there will be a humiliating defeat which Nana Fadnavis will give to the English. Out of this, they signed the only humiliating treaty the British signed in India, Treaty of Vadgaon. Treaty of Vadgaon. Now, under the Treaty of Vadgaon, now Nana Fadnavis was not going to leave the British alone. Under the Treaty of Vadgaon, Nana Fadnavis seizes all possessions of the English in Maratha territory. And they also say, I know that you have something called Bombay. Share half of the revenue of Bombay. And if not, we will see you in Bombay very soon. Nana Fadnavis is now basically making the Britishers become Ghasiti Begum. Ghasiti. Literally. That I told you under Treaty of Purandar, don't be over smart. Do not do it. And Nana Fadnavis, even after his warning, that they will say, how can you give it to the French? We will fight. Nana Fadnavis gives a humiliating defeat. However, now the British are on the back foot properly because all possessions are seized by the Marathas. And they say, yeah, Bombay, you got it from the Portuguese, now you got it as dowry. We want half of the revenue out of this also. And now the English don't know what to do really, because they have literally been humiliated and they have lost everything in this area. Now the British become desperate. Obviously, for the British, this is a very, very, very humiliating defeat. So they will send a person called Warren Hastings to India. And he will be given the mandate, get back what is ours, which is the British. And again, now the British will fight under Hastings now with Nana Fadnavis. And in this, unfortunately, the third time lucky Nana Fadnavis won. Now the British defeat the Marathas. And the treaty which is signed is called the Treaty of Salbai. Under Treaty of Salbai, the British realized something. The British do this in 1782. The British realized that the Marathas are too powerful. So rather than trying to humiliate the Marathas, they go back to status quo, which is British get all possessions back. And very simply, the British are now ready to give everything back what they took from the Marathas, and the Marathas have to give everything back. But a very interesting clause goes in: we will cooperate. Third party aggression, we will come together. Basically, Marathas and the British go into an agreement that if a third party attacks them, the British will help the Marathas will help the British. For very simply, British realized that the Marathas are too powerful. 1782, for next 20 years, they will not touch the Marathas only. They will never even look towards the Marathas because Marathas are too powerful. So the Treaty of Salbai, in a way, brought everything back to where it was, but also went into an understanding with the Marathas, which is going to be significant when I will tell you the Mysore story. Very soon, next 15 minutes, I will start the Mysore story. And you will realize that in the Mysore story, this agreement on the Treaty of Salbai is going to be very important. So are we clear about the first round of battles, which is called the First Anglo-Maratha War? First Anglo-Maratha War, there are three battles. Rana Fadnavis first defeats, second defeats, third he loses. First is Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai. PWS, Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai. Salbai basically is about non-aggression and mutual respect. Are we clear about the First Anglo-Maratha War? Because then you will see that some major blunder is going to happen in the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Mughals, any Mughal support with Marathas? No. It's all Maratha versus them. Okay. Raghunath Rao has no role after the first, after Purandar. But you will see he will come back. I will give you the dates, Saloni. Don't worry. Enough dates will be given. But I don't care about the dates because I will tell you to learn these without dates. That trick is going to come tomorrow. Now, let's talk about Second Anglo-Maratha War. Now you are up to speeds with the Maratha, so it will not take me a lot of time. Now something very dangerous is going to happen. Madhav Rao II will die. And he will be succeeded by a very controversial personality in Maratha politics, Baji Rao II. Guess whose son is Baji Rao II? No, Pavitra, till this point, nothing like that. Very good. He's the son of Raghunath Rao. And now, over the accession of Baji Rao II, there will be a division within the Marathas. Baji Rao II was supported by the Sindhyas, but the Holkars under Yashwant Rao Holkar, he said that this person cannot become the next ruler. His father literally sold us off to the British. And now there's a battle between Baji Rao II with Sindhya supporting Baji Rao II. That it's okay, no issues. And Holkars, this is the weakness of the Marathas coming through the confederacy system. And what is going to happen is that Yashwant Rao Holkar will give a defeat. He will defeat this alliance. And now guess what Baji Rao II is going to do in response to this. Guess what Baji Rao II will do after Yashwant Rao Holkar is going to defeat Baji Rao II and Sindhyas. Like father, like son, he will go to the British. So after 20 years of British having nothing, now the British get a call from Baji Rao II, help me. But this time the British were not going to help on a treaty. Under the Treaty of Basin, Baji Rao II will go into a subsidiary alliance with the British. Now, to be very clear with you, subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse I have to teach you. I have to properly teach you subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. 1 second. I'm just making sure that it is basin or not. 1 second. Basin, yes. Now, to give you a very simple glimpse of what is called as the subsidiary alliance, under subsidiary alliance, you give up your own army and you make the British your army, and you pay the British by maintaining their army. Basically, subsidiary alliance, Maratha army is removed. Second, foreign relations go into British hands, and revenue to maintain the British army. This basically sold off the Marathas. And now the other chiefs will basically get disgusted by what the other families are going to get disgusted by what Bajirao II had done. And though they will have Holkars will be pushed back by the British will push back the Holkars and Sindhyas and the Gaekwad will still survive, but basically Pune is now under the British, and Raghunath Rao's son has basically sold off the Marathas to the British, and Bajirao II will realize his mistake. Bajirao II will realize his mistake in what is called the Third Anglo-Maratha War, in which Bajirao will bring everyone together, bring every family together, and they wanted to fight the British. Basically, Holkars, Gaekwad, Sindhyas, and Pune. But the question was already too late. And what will happen is that the British will defeat each one of them separately. Pune separated, Sindhyas separately defeated. You have the Gaekwads again separately defeated, Holkars defeated, and the Bhosles also defeated. And basically, by after the third Anglo-Maratha War, Pune and Marathas became pensioners of the British under subsidiary alliance. For subsidiary alliance, I want your patience for 1 day. Can you just wait for 1 day for subsidiary alliance? You can? Okay. So this is basically the 3 Anglo-Maratha wars. And now you tell me if really Abdul Majid was the problem. Really Abdul Majid was the problem, as one of you pointed out. This is called Marathas destroying themselves. And the only proper challenge to the British in India was now gone. The only proper challenge to the British in India are now gone. First Anglo-Maratha has 3 wars. Second and third Anglo-Maratha is 1 war. So, if I can read this whole story out to you, I would then give you a 5-minute break, breather, and by what? 7:45, I want to start with Mysore. And then I'll consolidate everything for you. If not today, tomorrow for sure. Don't worry. Everything I'll write it down in one place. That is my job to do. Leave it to me. Yes? Okay. So, I'm now going back. Balaji Vishwanath. Balaji Vishwanath got certain rights from Farrukhsiyar. There's no fourth war. The fourth war is in Mysore. 3 wars in Maratha, 4 wars in Mysore. So he was the first officer to reach Delhi, got certain rights from Farrukhsiyar, got the right to collect Deccan Chauth Sardeshmukhi, and also was the one who started to expand the Marathas. Then will come the most celebrated ruler at the age of 20. Bajirao the first is going to come to power. He will start the chieftain system or the confederacy system. He will even reach the Delhi sector again, defeat the Mughal forces, and under Treaty of Sironj, he will even take Malwa and the entire Narmada and Chambal sector. In 1739, he was even able to defeat Portuguese and took certain parts from them, including Salsette and Basin. Now, his successor is the problem, wherein Balaji Bajirao made Ram Raja as the Chhatrapati. That was sorted, but his agreement in 1752 is the problem, wherein the Mughals and the Marathas, in lieu of giving Chauth and Sardeshmukhi of northwestern province, the Marathas would defend the Mughals from any external threat, and that external threat is going to come in the form of Abdali, and Vishwas Rao and Sadashiva Rao Bhau are going to get involved. Then the third battle of Panipat, 28,000 Maratha soldiers, including Vishwas Rao and Sadashiva Rao Bhau, are going to die. And when Balaji Bajirao will get to know about his son dying, he will also die in June of 1761. Thereafter, the politics becomes problematic because Madhav Rao the first comes to power. He is a minor, so Raghunath Rao rules in his name. Then he will later remove Raghunath Rao and consolidate, and he will be okay till 1772. After 1772, Narayan Rao will be killed, but Raghunath Rao will become powerful, and Madhav Rao the second will come to power. It is here that all the politics starts to become problematic. Baji Rao the second is the one who sold off the Marathas to the British through the subsidiary alliance. So the first Anglo-Maratha war is basically based on the internal politics of Madhav Rao and Raghunath Rao going to the British for help under Treaty of Surat. And here they will, under Treaty of Surat, join forces. And in the first, though Marathas were defeated, but Nana Fadnavis was able to control, and the Treaty of Purandar was signed. This is all standard politics, which I've already told you, the Bharbai conspiracy. Thereafter, under Treaty of Purandar, Raghunath Rao was pensioned. Now the British don't care about him. And revenue of certain districts were retained by the British. Everything was okay. First warning. Now 1777, Nana Fadnavis will give a port to the French. The British will find a fight at Pune, and at the Battle of Talegaon, they will be defeated, and the Treaty of Vadgaon was signed. Under Vadgaon, territories conquered by the British after 1773 to be returned, and revenue of Bombay was to be shared by the Marathas itself. But now the Marathas, the English will send Warren Hastings, who will basically instigate a war with Nana Fadnavis, and the Treaty of Salbai will be signed when Nana Fadnavis is defeated. Madhav Rao the two will be recognized as Peshwa by both. Salsette will be under the English, and now the treaties, the areas which were taken under Purandar and Vadgaon will be returned back. But what is more important is that they will go into an understanding of mutual non-aggression. We will help each other, we will not fight, and basically we will go for an alliance in third-party aggression. So the first Anglo-Maratha war, it has been won by the English only, because the last Treaty of Salbai in English had an upper hand. The second battle is when Madhav Rao dies, Madhav Rao II dies. Raghunath Rao's sons Baji Rao II comes to power. And now it is open to the British to use this to challenge the Marathas after 20 years. 1782, 1803, for 20 years did not do anything. And now Wellesley, who had become the Governor General, wanted to go into internal politics. What will happen is Baji Rao II and Sindhyas will go into a conflict over Holkars. Holkars are going to very simply defeat the alliance at the Battle of Hadspur. Don't have to remember that. And now the Peshwa will flee to British protection and sign the Treaty of Basin. Under he will go into a subsidiary alliance. This act was considered the most horrific and disgusting act by a Maratha chief ever. And thereafter, it was clear that the British were going to now rule the Marathas for sure, because under this under the subsidiary alliance, Peshwa has now accepted a company's protection. British army will be stationed at Pune. Foreign relations under the British. Peshwa has now surrendered the whole city of Surat. Surat is fully taken. and the Peshwa will now also not take money from the Nizam. British troops were now sitting in the Maratha territory itself, and the Marathas will thereafter be up under the protection of the British. Thereafter, throughout this, you don't have to learn this, do not learn. Throughout this, the other chiefs will keep on struggling with the British. British will not be able to fully kill the other families, but they will remain in the background. And by the third Anglo-Maratha War, by 1817, Bajirao II will realize his mistake. He will lead all the Maratha chiefs together to fight against the British resident and the British, but it was already too late. The Marathas were too weak. And the English, in different battles, will defeat each one of them and sign different treaties with them and put most of them under the subsidiary alliance itself. And this is how the Marathas lost the whole concept itself. The the confederacy was dissolved. The Peshwa position was abolished. Bajirao now had become, Bajirao II has now become a pensioner. And Satara was now a small area which was given the status of a subsidiary alliance state. This is basically the whole story in one slide itself. But this is a story which is having a major consequence because now India only had one last challenge left, which is the Mysorean sector, which I want to discuss after a 5-minute breather. Can we do that? British alone could fight all the Marathas, yes. Perfect, perfect. So we now come back at 7:50 and we take the story forward, and then Sikh will be left, which we'll do tomorrow, and everything with regards to wars, tricks. I will discuss questions with you. I will discuss practice questions with you, and we'll consolidate everything. So I will see you at 7:50, and we'll take the story forward. You don't have to remember these points, Lakshya. Just go through what I've written down. That is more than enough. And as it is tomorrow, I will revise everything with you. Don't worry. Smita, understand one thing. Uh, as per our structure, every subject gets repeated twice in 1 year with the same syllabus only. Two batches are there in modern, two batches in morning, two batches in evening, two batches in weekend. That is basically an opportunity for you to do multiple times revision if you want to. So what I will teach here, I will teach in morning batch also, I will teach in weekend also. Same thing, exact thing. So that is your choice. That is a lot of confusion. There's no confusion. Salbai, Basin, Salbai, they become friends. Basin, Bajirao the second gives up everything to the English. Third is when they try to fight and forget and remove the British. That is not possible. End of story. It's a very straightforward story. If you remove the backstory, what is there? Raghunath Rao goes to the British, first Anglo-Maratha War. Bajirao the second goes to the British, second Anglo-Maratha War. Third is when they try to remove. It's not complicated. It's very straightforward. I don't think, Ritika, after this morning batch, I have already taken in the beginning. So you will get opportunity this evening and then weekend. That's it. Okay. Can we start our discussion of Mysore? Roshan, totally your call. Whatever makes sense to you. Book revision only if you have gone through the book multiple times. Now, Marathas were one challenge, but they are now out of the picture. But the story is actually together. Both of these things actually happened together. First Anglo and first Mysore actually are quite together to each other. But the second most important challenge which the British could have got is from Mysore, which is Hyder Ali. And the backstory of this has already been told to you that from the Vodiyar kings to Nanjaraj to Hyder Ali had become very close to the French. And the problem with Hyder Ali was one, that Mysore was surrounded by British allies. So you have Mysore here, and the problem which they have is here you have the Marathas. Marathas, after the first Anglo-Maratha War, is an ally of the English. This is the Carnatic. This is already under the British, and Nizam is also under the British. So if you look at it, the problem which the Mysorean sector has is Mysore is surrounded by the English in the Carnatic from here, by Hyderabad here, and by the Marathas here. And if that was not enough, there was also one more state here, which is called Travancore. Travancore is also informally what we call as non-friendly to Mysore, and later it will become an ally of the British. So the problem with Mysore, it is always it's surrounded by the British in that regard, and that is why they were taking the help of the French, because the British were an anti-element in this sector. So Mysore, and as it is between during the Madhav Rao period, Hyder Ali and Madhav Rao fought multiple times. Until Madhav Rao was alive, the Marathas always had an upper hand. It was once Madhav Rao died and the whole confusion started, Hyder Ali started to take the areas back which the Marathas had taken. So there is a lot of disunity in this area which the British is going to use also very, very effectively. The three things which you need to understand: that Hyder Ali, most important ally is the French. Second is the fact that Hyder Ali already has an ongoing conflict with the with the Marathas, and geographically, Mysore is placed in between English influenced states. If these 3 points are clear, If these 3 points are clear, then I would want to go into the first Anglo-Mysore War, because there are 4 wars, but only 2 are actually significant. 2 are just to check each other, and 1 is going to seal the fate of Mysore itself. Are we clear about these 3 points? Anybody has any issue in understanding this? Okay. Third point is that if you look at the geography of the Mysorean sector, Carnatic on one side, which is already under the British, Nizam already under the British, Marathas after the first Anglo-Maratha were also ally, and Travancore is neutral but is not pro-Mysore in that regard. That is the problem here. And throughout their history, Madhav Rao and Hyder Ali had been fighting. Madhav Rao initially will have a lot of wins, and between 1764, 66, 1771, he will win. And only after Madhav Rao's death, Hyder Ali will take it. Basically, this is an antagonistic relationship. Antagonistic relationship. So, very simply, the first Anglo-Mysore War happens in a context wherein there is a lot of things happening in and around India. And let's discuss the first Anglo-Mysore War. The first Anglo-Mysore War, English-Mysore War, this is basically a check. You have Mysore under Hyder Ali, and you had the Carnatic sector in which the British were fortifying certain areas. Just after the Battle of Buxar, the British now feared that Mysore could be a problem. And therefore, Hyder Ali and Carnatic sector already have an antagonistic relationship. And as soon as there is certain amount of encroachment over the the Mysorean sector, this will become a very minor pretext. It's a very minor pretext for the war to start. So the Anglo-Mysore War starts randomly. And it's basically the French connection of Hyder Ali, which the English don't like. And Hyder Ali does not want to see the face of Robert Clive. So what happens is that they fight. But this war is inconclusive because for 1.5 years there's fight, but nobody comes out as the victor. Nobody wins this war. It's like a truce. They fight, and now the British get to know that, okay, Mysore is a very good adversary that way. So this battle has no real consequence, and it is only everybody's checking their position. But what is more significant is, after this, they go into what we call as the Treaty of Mangalore, or rather Treaty of Madras. Under the Treaty of Madras, there's a very interesting clause which has come, wherein Hyder Ali and English go into understanding to help each other when third party aggression. Now you see how the British is giving the same love letter to 2 to 3 different areas. Exact same thing. They did it with the Marathas also very soon. So they signed a understanding that if we have third party aggression, we will help you. If there's again third party aggression, we will help you. So you see that the British are playing a game here. Mysore is first, Maratha is second, but Mysore, they've gone already into the first concept. So when we talk about the first Mysore war, there's nothing really here. Understand this point. Hyder Ali was the friend of the French. English will encroach certain areas of the Mysorean sector. Carnatic sector already hates the Mysorean sector. And Hyder Ali already had a territorial dispute with the Nawab of Arcot and differences with the Marathas. Over this aspect, they will fight for 1.5 years without any conclusion, and that's why they will end the war by 1769. What is more significant is the Treaty of Madras. Under Treaty of Madras, they will go into an understanding. We will not exchange whatever we had fought with each other, prisoners will be exchanged, and now we will help each other if there is third party aggression. So I think first Anglo-Mysore war is not difficult to understand. It's basically everybody's checking each other. It's a check. It's a preemptive war where they're checking each other's power and position. And Treaty of Madras has a very interesting end wherein English and the Mysorean sector for the first time go into an understanding that we will help each other if there's third party aggression. Are we clear with regards to this? First Anglo-Mysore war. Can we call it Anglo-Mysore because it's between it's not between Mughal and British. It's Anglo-English Mysore. Can I move on to second Anglo-Mysore war? Okay. Now we come to the 1780s. Under Madras Treaty, British will help the Mysore rulers on third party aggression. Now, does it neutralize the French interest? No. Hyder Ali keeps that alive. But that will get accelerated now. You will see. So, Madras Treaty, British will help Mysore on third party aggression. And Marathas attack Mysore. So, what should the British do in this situation? What should they do in this situation? They should help Mysore, but now the bluff of the English has been called. Both lovers have come together, and now the British don't know who to help. So what will happen is Britain will not help Mysore and stay away. And this will basically make Hyder Ali extremely angry. तो जब वादा किया था निभाना पड़ेगा बट नहीं निभाया. They had promised, and now Hyder Ali feels betrayed that the English had said that they will help us, but they didn't. Now Hyder Ali, what he does is he says, "Do hell with the British," and he goes closer to the French. And at this point of time, there's a French governor called Suffren. Suffren wants to use this betrayal as a way of strengthening the French presence in India, in a way trying to revive what they'd already lost in a way, but not very significantly. If Marathas are under British, how will Marathas fight Mysore? They are not under the British. Marathas will only go under the British in 1802, 1817. Not right now. Marathas, this is first Anglo-Mysore happens, then first Anglo-Maratha happens. Both British go into the same type of treaty. But then what happens is Anglo-Mysore comes, and the British cannot help the Mysorean sector because they have the same type of agreement with Marathas. The British valued Marathas more over Mysore, and that is a very important point you need to understand. So under Suffren, the French still exist, but most of their presence is in Maldives, in a place called Malé, and certain areas, and obviously in Pondicherry. So Hyder Ali will become extremely close, still in the East India. It is all East India Company. It is not the British Crown. It's all East India Company. They feared Marathas more than the Hyder Ali. Extremely close. And see, 1780 is also a very interesting period, because between 1776 and 1783, something else was happening in the world. Can anybody tell me what was that? I will discuss that with you in world history. What is that? 1776 to 1783? Something else happening across the world. Very good. It's called the American Revolution and Struggle for Independence and War of Independence. And guess who? The Americans were a British colony. Guess who gave assistance to the Americans in getting their independence? Again, the useless French paying money everywhere. Here there was French involvement. That is why the Statue of Liberty was given by the French to the English, to the Americans. To the Americans, the Statue of Liberty was given. Now, the English now get annoyed that the French are involved in America also, and they're getting involved in India also. And they had already defeated the French at the Battle of Vandy Wash. So the English did not really want the French to again see a lot of revivalism in India. So over this pretext of Hyder Ali becoming too close with the French, the British will not attack Hyder Ali. British will attack Malay and the French. But now what will happen is, because the French are in an alliance with Hyder Ali, this will become a battle between Hyder Ali and the English. This battle will keep on going on. This battle will keep on going on, but this battle ends with two major consequences. Hyder Ali dies in 1782 and he is succeeded by Tipu Sultan. And the French, being French recall Suffren back. And now Tipu Sultan wants to end this war as quickly as possible because it's a war which is going on pointlessly. So they will go into what is called as the Treaty of Mangalore. And the consequence is very straightforward. Everyone goes back to where they were. So again, can we call it a conclusive battle? Can we call the Treaty of Mangalore or the Second Mysorean battle conclusive? No, the same consequences come through, which is that the first Madras Treaty of Madras, nobody really won, and Treaty of Mangalore, nobody really won. So in the second war, the pretext is very straightforward. The British are encroaching and trespassing in Mysore. Marathas invaded Mysore, but English did not help. French provided military assistance in the form of saltpeter, lead, guns, and other things through Malay. And American war, the French were again involved. So the English attacked Malay, and that will bring Hyder Ali into the picture. Hyder Ali will not die in battle. He will die a natural death. So the English won over the Marathas through the Treaty of Salbai, which we already know in 1782. And English under Etheric Coote defeated Hyder Ali at Porto Novo multiple times. The English also bribed the Nizam to give certain areas to it itself. French recalled Suffren, and death of Hyder Ali and recall of Suffren will put back Mysore one step forward, backward. And what they will go for is called the Treaty of Mangalore, and it's called both sides were truced. They will give each other territory back. British will say that they will never get involved in Mysore's war, and the British treaty, for the last time, the British did a treaty in equal footing with any ruler in India. But the real battle is the third Mysore war, which I want to discuss with you. Can I discuss the third Mysore war with you? This is the real. Suffren was the governor. That is the real battle. The real battle is in third Mysore war. Okay, for that we need to come back here. Now I'm creating the pretext for the third Mysore war because the fourth Mysore war is very straightforward. Yes. Now, see, there's an area here which you can see here. This is Kochi. This is Travancore. And this is Mysore. Now, understand the point that Kochi was basically an area which was considered an extension of Mysore, or was like a feudatory of Mysore. Feudatory means it's a subordinate power under Mysore. Now, there are two points of the two Dutch colonies here. One is called Jalkotal and the other one is Cannanore. These two were the Dutch factories which were basically one in Travancore area and one in Cochin. Some were somewhere here and somewhere here. Now the Travancoreans or Travancore king wanted to buy these Dutch factories. Dutch were ready to sell it. So Travancore wanted to buy Jalkotal and Cannanore. And what they do is that the Travancore sector, they buy Jalkotal and Cannanore from the Dutch in Kochi. Now tell me the problem in this type of arrangement. Wherein Travancore is buying Dutch colonies, Jalkotal and Cannanore from the Dutch, but in Kochi. Does it create a breach in sovereignty for Mysore? Yes, it does. Basically, Kochi, you cannot buy something in Kochi without the permission of Mysore. And this is what Tipu Sultan hates. So very simply, there are two areas which the Dutch have, which are called Jalkotal and Cannanore. These are the two factories which they have. And they wanted to sell it to the Travancoreans. Travancore. But that meant that this transaction would happen in Cochin. And for doing something in Cochin, you need to take permission from the Mysorean sector, from Mysore, in a way, Tipu Sultan. Now, this will in turn mean, and the trigger of the war is when Tipu Sultan will attack Travancore. Now, the British got an opportunity. Now the British will say, "Arey, how can you defeat and harass the smaller power? I am the protector of every small power which is there in South India. How can you defeat or how can you fight with Travancore? मैं बचाऊंगा. I will save Travancore." They didn't care about Travancore, but they needed a pretext. So now Travancore will be held by the British. And the British will say, if I come, buy one, get one free, Marathas will also help you, and the Nizam will also help you, and the Carnatic will also help you. Hum sab milke, we will all come together and we will fight with Mysore. Now you can see what has basically happened. Mysore was fighting on every direction. Marathas here, Nizam here, Carnatic here, Travancore here. Now there was no chance that Tipu Sultan was never going to actually be able to fight off the British. And this war, Mysore will get the most humiliating defeat. And after these many powers came together, they will sign. British came from where? They're the protector. They will say they were sitting in Carnatic. And they were like, "Arey, what is happening?" And they will say, "We protector, Cannanore, we will protect everyone." Basically, the British wanted a pretext to fight with Tipu Sultan. Because Tipu Sultan was strengthening Mysore at a much quicker pace than Hyder Ali. And the French connection was still there. So now, what they will sign is called the Treaty of Seringamapatnam. This name has changed today, but it is called the Seringamapatnam. In the Treaty of Seringamapatnam, which was the summer palace or the second palace of Tipu Sultan, Tipu Sultan's two sons will be taken hostage by the British. He will lose 50% of all the territory of Mysore. And the concept was the cake will be cut and it will be distributed to everybody. Cake katega, sab mein batega. So the whole area called Mysore was now shared by everyone. A certain piece was given to the Nizam. A certain piece was given to the Nizam. Nizam got something. The Marathas got something. Travancore got something. And whatever was left, Carnatic got. And what the biggest piece was taken by the English. So basically, in the Treaty of Seringapatam, Mysore will lose more or less everything. Mysore will lose more or less everything. And Tipu Sultan will be basically left to have nothing under his ranks. Nizam will take the areas from Krishna River to Pennar. War damages of 3 crores. Guess who wanted it? Which is the British. 2 sons were taken hostage. Half of territory was taken. Barmal, Malabar and Didugul is given to the English as an area. And the Marathas take the areas around Tungabhadra. So basically, the Treaty of Seringapatam killed off the last major challenge which Tipu Sultan was going to be to the British. But Tipu Sultan was still alive. And what will happen is that in 1804, there will rise a person called Napoleon Bonaparte in France. In France, in 1804, there is a person called Napoleon Bonaparte. He will rise as a dictator. And by 1806, 1808, he was fighting with the European powers to expand France in what is called as the Napoleonic Wars. Ironically, the British find correspondence between Tipu Sultan, who was still sitting in the 50% less Mysorean sector, and Napoleon. And as soon as the connection between Tipu Sultan and Napoleon is found even 1% hinted, the English did not want to hold on to this area with Tipu getting assistance from Napoleon. And in what is called the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, where the British took initiative, they will preemptively kill Tipu Sultan and capture whole of Mysore and make sure that Napoleon could never come to India. And the Fourth Mysore War, in a way, sealed the fate of Mysore forever. Now, if this makes sense to you, I'll read it out to you, and then I want to summarize all 3 battles which we've done today. Can I do that? Fourth Anglo-Mysore War is just preemptive battle between England or East India Company and the Tipu Sultan to kill Tipu Sultan. Napoleon Bonaparte was a general who had taken power control away from the French Revolution and had become himself a very major dictator emperor. So let's talk about this war. You don't need to remember, Ritika, who takes what part. That is only for your understanding. No, these small details don't matter. So we discussed first. Second, we have discussed. Third is the most important. Travancore had purchased Jalkotal and Cannanore from the Dutch in Kochi. Since Kochi is a feudatory of Mysore, Tipu Sultan considered it a breach of his sovereignty, and therefore Tipu Sultan declared war against Travancore. English sided with the Travancorean sector, along with the Marathas and the Carnatic also. The Treaty of Mangalore was a temporary respite which had happened. And a very important trick. Mad Man Seri. This is the acronym for the treaties. Madras, Mangalore, Seringapatam. Mad Man Seri. So Cornwallis by this point of time had become the Governor General of India, and Marathas and Nizams were also through his politics coming through. Tipu Sultan sought the help of French, the Turks, and even the Arabs. But the French again were too lethargic in responding. And that is why in this battle, in 1790, Tipu Sultan defeated the English under General Meadows. But when Cornwallis became involved himself, he will defeat Tipu Sultan in a retreating way at first at Vellore, then at Ambur, and then at Bangalore. And thereaafter, the English were getting support from the Marathas, Nizam, and the Carnatic sector also. and Tipu Sultan offered serious opposition but lost. That will lead to the Treaty of Seringapatam, which will leave him more or less dead. But the English as well as Tipu Sultan used this period of 1719 to 99 to recoup their losses. Wellesley, however, was now going to get broiled, means involved in the Napoleonic Wars, and Napoleon finally had landed in Egypt, and there was a chance that he would then try to capture the possessions in India through the Russian sector or through the Egyptian sector, and therefore there was also communication between Tipu Sultan and Napoleon, and Wellesley prevented any alliance between them and wanted to fight before something could actually develop. And what happens is that the British decisively defeat Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan defeated Stuart and General Harris, but the English were again took the help of the Nizam and the Marathas, and in a way defeated Tipu Sultan. After the falling of Seringapatam, Tipu Sultan was killed by before the French could even help, and very simply now again everything was divided amongst each other. Nizam took Gunti and Gurumkonda. English took Kanara, Wayanad, Coimbatore, Dwarapuram, and Seringapatam. And this is how the Mysorean challenge was destroyed, and India was never going to remain the same. Now, if you look at the pattern here, what was the biggest problem which India faced at this battle? What is the moral of the story out of Mysore? That is the last thing we discussed, and I leave you. What is the moral of the story? Yes, which is disunity. Mysore was always under attack from multiple sides, and somehow the English were seen as an ally. English always took the Marathas together, the Nizam together, the Carnatic together. And this meant that it is a disunity of India which led to Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan losing. And the last opposition, what they will basically do, if you actually realize it, the English first instigate Mysore, then get a friendly relationship, then go into a understanding with the Marathas. Once they get Marathas, they abandon Mysore, and thereafter they use the Marathas to defeat Mysore 3 times, and then they will destroy Marathas themselves, and thereafter both oppositions will be killed with one stone. So with one arrow they will kill both major oppositions, the Marathas and the Mysorean sector. The last area which they will take is basically the Sikhs, which we will discuss tomorrow. Now, can I give you a oral summary, because I can't write it within 6 minutes? Can I give you an oral summary of all the 3 battles which we've discussed today? Can I do that? You just have to very simply listen to me. Every point which I'm making is very, very important. That is the point I'm trying to make also. So in Bengal, the story is very simple. Again, very simply, Siraj hated the English. English French start to fortify because of 7 Years' War. The English don't stop fortification. Sirajuddaula captures that area. Black Hole incident happens. Black Hole is used to fight at the Treaty of Alinagar and the Battle of Alinagar and Treaty of Alinagar. He wanted permanent solution. Clive goes into conspiracy. That is the Battle of Plassey. Plassey, Jafar comes. Jafar gives a lot to the British, but he tries to remove the British through the Dutch. Battle of Chinchura. And thereafter, Mir Qasim is brought in. Qasim always wanted to remove the British. He removes his or shifts his capital from Murshidabad to Munger. Thereafter, he also removes all duties to give equal footing to indigenous, what we call as traders. And thereafter, Qasim starts to run, takes Shah Alam II and Delhi, Awadh Sujauddin or rather Sujauddaulah together, fight at Buxar. Buxar lost. Battle, the Treaty of Allahabad, Diwani rights, and the king, the emperor of Mughal emperor goes into pensioner of the British. British don't want to take control of the emperor or don't want to take administrative control, an issue which we'll see later. So whatever names I've taken till this point is Sirajuddaula, Sujauddaulah, Mir Qasim, Mir Jafar, and the concept of Shah Alam II. Anybody has any issue understanding Bengal? It's a very straightforward concept. Battle of Buxar, Battle of Plassey, Treaty of Allahabad. Yes? Now, the second thing which we discussed was Marathas. Now, when we discuss the Marathas, I gave you a backstory. Shahuji Tarabai fighting, Balaji Vishwanath becomes the kingmaker. Balaji Vishwanath, first Peshwa to capture power. Thereafter, Balaji Vishwanath, Bajirao, Bajirao. Then confusion after third battle of Panipat. Vishwas Rao and Sadashiva Rao are killed. So now you have Madhav Rao II, but he's a minor. So Raghunath Rao rules in his name. Later, Raghunath Rao is removed, but he's still ambitious. After Madhav II in 1772, when Narayan Rao comes to power, Madhav Rao kills Raghunath Rao kills Narayan Rao, becomes Peshwa himself. Nana Fadnavis does not like that. He removes Raghunath Rao and brings in Madhav Rao II. Now Raghunath Rao goes to the British at Surat, Treaty of Surat. You fight in front of me. You need to reinstall me as the Peshwa. Now, first Anglo-Maratha War starts with Treaty of Surat. English and Raghunath Rao versus Nana Fadnavis defeated. Treaty of Purandar. Thereafter, okay, first warning. Second, now Nana Fadnavis gives a port to the French. English have abandoned Raghunath Rao. Fight with Nana Fadnavis. Crushing defeat. Treaty of Vadgaon. Everything which was taken is taken back, and thereafter share the revenue of Bombay. Thereafter, Hastings is sent to take back what was taken in Vadgaon. Hastings versus Nana Fadnavis. Nana Fadnavis is defeated. Treaty of Salbai. We will give each other everything what we had taken, but we'll be friends. Very significant for Mysore because Mysore, this Treaty of Salbai is going to be extremely significant that way. Thereafter, Madhav Rao will die, and you will get Baji Rao the second as the ruler. But Baji Rao II was the son of Raghunath Rao. Holkars challenge Baji Rao, and Baji Rao II and Scindia's fight with Holkars. Holkars defeat this alliance. So Baji Rao II goes to the English and signs the subsidiary alliance. That will sell off the Marathas, and the Marathas will now go under English protection. Thereafter, between 1802 and 1817, Bajirao II will realize his mistake. He will bring all of them together and try to fight in the third Maratha battle or the third Anglo-Maratha war, and they will all be defeated separately, and this will end the story of the Marathas forever. Here it was Battle of Plassey, Buxar, Treaty of Allahabad. Here it is Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai, and last is Basin. After that, Maratha story is over. Thereafter, you have Mysore. Everybody clear about Marathas? I'll try to give you a written summary tomorrow first thing as a form of revision. Yes? Okay. Now, last but not the least is Mysore. Mysore already has a conflict with the Marathas, and they're surrounded by pro-English states. First, by Anglo-Mysore War, over a minor pretext, nobody gets nothing. Treaty of Madras. We'll help each other, but at that point of time, they will go into an understanding with the Marathas. And when in the second Anglo-Mysore War, when the Marathas will attack Hyder Ali, the English will not do anything. So Hyder Ali will go closer to the French. French were operating from Malay. British will attack the Malay sector. So Hyder Ali will respond. Again, they will fight inconclusive battle of or the Treaty of Mangalore. Hyder Ali has died. Tipu Sultan has come through. Sovereign has written back. Now the third is most important, wherein their Jalkotal and Cannanore is bought by the Travancore sector from the Dutch at Kochi. And that will become the pretext of attacking Travancore. Tipu Sultan will now be surrounded by everyone around him and defeated. Treaty of Seringapattana. And now more or less Mysore is dead, but 50% of what was left. Now Tipu Sultan will try to get into an interaction with Napoleon. Even before Napoleon could have actually sent any form of assistance, the British will preemptively attack and annex all of Mysore. This is basically the three stories we've done today and the basic things which you have to remember in this story. Right? Now, tomorrow we will do Sikh, and thereafter we will do the concept of the consolidation. Subsidiary lines, doctrine of lapse, judiciary, ICS. Tomorrow we move out. I do previous year questions. I will discuss with you the trick to learn all of this. And thereafter, we'll also practice some certain questions out of that trick itself. So can I successfully say that Bengal, Carnatic, Maratha, Mysore done? Because Sikh is only 15-20 minutes discussion. Are we clear with regards to this? What is subsidy lines? Charan, you will know tomorrow for sure. Pensioner means that the British will pay them pensions and they will be under protection of the British. Are we clear? Can we break for today? Yes? For written summaries, I will try to give it to you tomorrow. It will take me 45 minutes to write all of this again, which is too much time. Can't be done in 10 minutes. Don't fall into that. Don't fall into that, Anushain. You email me about this. We'll get it sorted. You do email me with regards to this, all these details which you're getting. Ashu said, I'll repeat the summary tomorrow, but nothing will change. The names will remain the same. The people will remain the same. Rather, you can watch this video again. It is recorded before you come to class. That would be a better way of using your time and my time also. But I will be giving you a summary, obviously. Which is more important for prelims? Not all of this is relevant for prelims and mains both, but implications are more important for mains. I will show you tomorrow what can be asked in the prelims examination. Right now, how much we completed the modern history? We have still not established British Raj properly. For fourth class, you have. British are now going to become the paramount power in India. You have not even done 10% of the history. So that's a story. No, Lakshya, no. That those are basically princely states, separate issue altogether. Is this portion relevant for every year? Yes, why not? What do you want me to say? That chhod do, that don't do it. Then why am I wasting 3 classes over it? This is a portion out of which you will get certain questions. You never know with you never know with UPSC. You can't understand anything else without doing this story. Running away is not the way you will conquer this. Only remember the basic stories, and the treaty names can actually give you everything. Tomorrow I'll give you a trick so you don't have to worry about that. So don't, as I told you, don't break your spirit here only. Yahi dam mat tod dena. There's a lot to history which has to be covered. Then actually this is not even 10-15% of what we have to cover. Strong, decisively is round. That word mega that made Manish is basically how badly you are defeated. Somewhere it can be undecisive, it can be very decisively. Again, Sheikh, I'll tell you answer writing when you will be in a place where I can tell you that. 24 classes, fourth day, December we will go on. I will tell you what is the hurry here. This is what I want you to do. Have patience at least. That's the only thing I'm trying to say. Right. Okay. If you don't have a question, you have nothing, you can leave the class. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. We'll revise all of this and then we'll take the story forward tomorrow. Okay. See you. Take care and bye-bye.